asked Gio if he was like permanently ruined by like movies from his early childhood, and he's just been like, I can never recover from this. Things are never, they've never been the same since like 1985. You know, it'll be great.
Oh boy. That's
so there's
true.
that YouTuber by the name of like Billy Cobb. He recently put out a music video. Because someone in his comment section had said like you should do a parody of Bowling for Soup's 1985, except the same number of years had passed from when that song came out to 85. Apparently, the same number of years had passed from 2005 to today, and it's actually a pretty good parody cover. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and I think it's kind of fitting for what we're talking about today: the weird and eerie demise of the hipster. But our friend Capitalissimo, I sent those images. I'm actually using one of them as my avatar for today's show. But that guy, I think and now there's sports or something on Twitter.
Yeah,
the one who did like the AI music video intro for the show, which is pretty funny. He had sent these two profile pictures, one of Gio and one for me. And Gio is smoking a cigarette in his fez, but he looks like Mike Stacklasa. And it's just perfect. And I sent it to our friend Capitalissimo. And he goes, and I'm just going to read it out because I think it's actually really funny. Actually, hold on. I sent you the screenshot. We should just do a reading of it.
Oh yeah, you mean Mike from Red Metal?
No. This is Mike from Red Letter Media. Yeah,
Red Letter Media. We have the same jaw structure. Yeah, that's
you two look a lot alike, and it's really funny because
it's so true. No way, Ethan Rout. It's not true. Yeah, it's true though. I do.
It is true. Although it makes me wonder, like, what you looked like when you were a younger man, because like you see photos of like Mike from Red Letter Media from like 2006 and 2008 when he's like doing film shit, and he looks like a totally he could be on like that Feel When No GF kind of documentary where he's just a totally different man, and then you look at him now.
No, I have pictures from high school. I could probably.
Oh, there you go.
I wonder if I could put it in slides. How could I do that? I'd have to like send it to my phone, send it to my computer.
Do you want to here? I'll do the intro here, and then you'll read the paragraph Cap sent, because I thought this was really.
Well, good. I wanted to download it, but that AI music thing was buggy today. But I wanted to download it to make an intro video because it sounded like very like slapstick comedy. Like
it was very slapstick. It was as if it was like Beverly Hillbillies meets the 21st century shit posting. It was really good.
Yeah, it was good.
So yeah,
it was a straight man, and it was very good. I like that.
Speaking of straight men, James O'Keefe is straight.
I can't believe that. That's incredible.
I mean, like it's beautiful. It's like breaking news: James O'Keefe, straight man. Oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Breaking news: James O'Keefe, straight man.
What happened? He was dating an e-girl or something?
So he sold his interns or whatever, or the people who work with him at James O'Keefe, the media group, the O'Keefe Media Group, OMG, to go through his private messages to find tips and sources, because James O'Keefe is like the journalist with 1,000 faces, right? Because no one can recognize this guy, even though he's been doing it since like Acorn. So anyways, the report comes out where James O'Keefe has allegedly been like texting women, and
well, that's not a good sign.
Well, yeah. So basically, the implication is that like he was engaging in some not appropriate sexual behavior, I guess, i.e. power dynamics, or he was just like really. They say, I haven't read the whole thing, but apparently one of the women that he was with got a piercing where the sun don't shine, and he was like super upset about it and made her cry. So it's just like, wow, this is the James O'Keefe straight man, and this is the way that we find out.
Because I can't believe, like, there's a big problem. I hate to say it with, I don't know. I shouldn't say anything because the E-Right is intent on destroying every little last ounce of the presence of female voices. So I shouldn't really say anything. I've been trying not to. But it's very funny how like a lot of these conservative media types do have a big problem with like either the ones that like pretend to be like performatively masculine and heterosexual, they get outed as like, well, allegedly, like in the case of Steven Crowder. But now you have the opposite, whereas James O'Keefe was always kind of like flamboyant and out there, but now he gets outed as, harassing his female interns, like a media conglomerate owner of old. It's kind of weird. I don't know.
And
Anyways,
it is strange to see like a quasi Me Too moment, and I think that everyone is. I think everyone's just going to enjoy the fact that for like 5 seconds, James O'Keefe is outed as a straight man.
Well, that's like what's her name? She used to date Baked Alaska.
I have
Birdie?
no idea.
Ashton Birdie. She used to she claims that a lot of these either conservatism TM people are either like secretly closeted or they're like serial harassers. But then again, like she posts like socialist, like feminist videos on TikTok now because it's like, what's so funny is that like that interview, I forget who pointed this out. I think it may have been Real Z Ping. The screen cap of that infamous like woman on the street InfoWars thing where Ashton Birdie interviews Dasha in the Sailor Moon outfit, and Dasha was LARPing as a socialist, and Ashton Birdie was LARPing as like a conservative conspiracy theory, like then like a white nationalist. But then it's like now the pole's reversed. Now Ashton Birdie is a crazy socialist feminist, and Dasha is a crazy proto like right wing e-girl. It's like what's that comic book where the villain's gonna reverse the poles of the world, the magnetic poles? Is that Dr. Manhattan or is it
I do not know.
I think it was a Superman villain. Come on, you guys are nerds. You know
so
who
like
I'm
Lex
talking about.
Luthor, I guess.
Is it Lex Luthor? He's gonna reverse the polarity of the Earth.
Oh, hold on. Why are we? See, this is the funny thing about asking these questions is because like both of us are on our computers. We can just look this up, and it's just like, hey, there's this infinite, But I hate doing that. I love the fact that information is there, but I should know these things, but I shouldn't because who the hell?
How dare you, sir? I'm sorry.
Super villain who reverses polarity, or whatever.
I think it was Brainiac. Yeah.
There you go.
Or was it Dr. Manhattan?
Oh, Dr. Manhattan is from Watchmen.
No, but sorry, I'm getting confused. It may have been a Superman villain that tries to reverse the polarity of the Earth and will destroy the humanity. I know it was the plot of the core, but it's like some superhero villain.
Well, I mean, the whole thing was, of course, Superman spins back time by like just like changing, like by going around the other way.
Klaus Schwab.
There you go, Klaus Schwab.
No, but it's like Dasha and Ashton Birdie, like reverse polarities on the e-girl spectrum. But anyways,
well, they say every like 600. They say every like 600 years or whatever the poles switch or whatever. So it's like, hey,
Magneto. That's
Magneto. There you go.
But also
Dr. Fauci. Dr. Fauci, leader of the gays, swapper of the poles.
He could turn a straight grifter closeted and a closeted grifter straight.
He can turn a closeted conservative grifter straighter than an e-girl can become a left-winger again. He is the amazing Dr. Fauci.
That's such a stupid debate though, because like
I'm not participating in it, as with all things.
Well, I know
Kathrine e-girls. I know Kathrine
said that it's not they're gonna go left wing. Come on. I mean,
I just think you're going to just see I think you'll just see an uptick of RFH style posting. That's it.
Yeah, no, but the thing is, it's inherently stupid because we all live in like a little Potemkin village of posting, and it's not like we're in a position of power to determine social policy.
You live in a disgusting semi-impermeable membrane where people can bring in all kinds of refuse, and everyone's talking about gatekeeping, but like everyone realizes that the fence has a million holes in it. And so people are going to constantly complain as the piles of garbage and refuse and other things are going.
Don't give people that idea, internet friend.
Why not? I want to see you talk about Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis was pretty good looking in that movie.
She was good looking in a lot of movies. I won't lie, but and it's really funny because I had an AP English teacher in high school who looked exactly like Jamie Lee Curtis, and I was like, "Did anyone ever tell you that?" And she's like, "I get it all the time," and I was like, "Oh, okay, good."
But the thing is, like, with the whole e-girl revolt, is that
the
right-wing
e-girl
revolt.
I can't
It's-
wait for that to get an article on like Rational Wiki or something. The Great E-girl Revolt of 2020.
yeah, Rational Wiki. It's gonna get an article in Compact Magazine, no doubt. No, but I think like I think Kashuta and her other threads are a lot more measured. But then you do have like, and as much as I like her, like she does like that. There was that obnoxious tweet by, uh, what's her name, the Italian one,
Mm.
Alessa Boschi, like about like if you don't be nice to us, we're not gonna vote. You know, we're gonna go to the left wing. It's like I think like a lot of this just comes from high school dynamics. A lot of this comes from a weird form of like everything is Mean Girls all the time.
So does this mean that video that a certain actual crazy woman posts all the time, treating these spaces like a high school cafeteria, is true?
Let's not mention her.
But is it right?
it's,
So it is
right.
true. Okay, cool.
It's true. No, because the thing is that I think the problem is that Kashuta was doing something or was trying to do something substantial, but then of course a lot of the other like touchy-feely, like you're attacking me as a woman type of thing got in the way, and then you have other e-girls piling on, and it's just a big total mess. And yes, of course, Anna Kachyan's like going against the mainstream, but I think the problem is that it's ridiculous on both sides. I know I'm being offensive, but I think everyone, either like Twitter posters or the e-girls themselves, should like really go back and say, okay, listen, we're not in any position to do. I mean, okay, a lot of it does come from just like rhetorical jokes that a lot of these guys just bandy about. I mean, some guys do post things that are quite cruel that I don't endorse, but most of it is just kind of like banter. Like the whole repealing the 19 thing, that's just banter. Like we're not in any position of political power, blah blah blah. But at the same time, I think like it's just it's a thirst for something meaningful. But the reality is that when you're in the absence of any like meaningful, coherent, like either movement or politics or institution or power, then you end up devolving into these like weird social dynamics, and you're talking in a tone that's like, oh, you know, like we're gonna influence people, and it's like the woman vote and the frog poster vote. It's like, guys, let's be real here. Let's be real. Like it's like I don't know if I'm articulating myself that well, but I think the problem is that people are speaking as if we're in a position to influence actual social policy in regards to men and women, rather than just people bandying like their own personal feelings or shit posting or doing memes. And I think like everyone's just doing memes, and they're like losing themselves. Because there was a good point that our good friend Remnant brought up, that it's like, okay, I understand, but then it's like, what's the alternative? Men that are mean to you? Like, I'm sorry, Lauren Southern, but right-wing men were mean to you, and some of them did come on to you, and I understand that was, you know, I don't endorse that, right? But then it's like,
was Remnant the one that posted?
What did left-wing men try to do to Lauren Southern? They tried to redact her, if I recall. They tried to ban her
that was the
cool
thing
countries.
that Remnant put up, and I think Dave quoted saying that like both of these tweets are true. Is that you had
it was
Lauren,
Remnant James Kirkpatrick's tweet.
it was because like James Kirkpatrick just basically said like this is what happens when you try to acquiesce or just like conform to power after being attacked. And again, like I've never followed throughout all of my years of online consumption. I never followed Lauren Southern that closely. I definitely
did a bit. That was elite.
I listened to people like Millennial Woes, Semiagog, and the Iconoclast back when 3 out of 3 of them were still on YouTube, and it was a different environment back then. But I mean, it does illustrate that, you know, both of those statements are just fundamentally true. However, right, this is a lot of people do act like you're going to influence social policy and whatnot. I think you can, but I think that people have delusions of grandeur that I think, as Zero HP Lovecraft wrote not too long ago, everyone is still chasing the magic dragon that was 2016. And I don't think, one, you're never going to get that back. It's like taking black tar heroin for the first time. I've never taken it, but I know that the first hit of that stuff is going to be the best one I've ever had. And I'm going to be
Chasing the
chasing that.
dragon.
And I'm going to be chasing the dragon for the rest of my life. And I'm going to be chasing 2016 for the rest of my life. Hell, 2016 was brought up in a conversation at work. And it was just like, and I'm like reminiscing about like watching my like gay college professor cry and call his boyfriend because Hillary Clinton lost. Like, they'll never take that from me. But I also know, holy shit, that was 8 years ago. And a lot has changed since then. And most of it, if not, well, I can't say all of it, but most of it for the worse. And so I think that there needs to be a recognition that, like, yeah, but we also live in like the environment itself is very gamified. Doesn't matter if you're talking to women or men or policymakers or just trying to call, Zelensky's Twitter account like the F slur. The environment of this game, YouTube, Twitter, Substack, whatever, Telegram, even Telegram especially, because that's where, if you get banned, that's where you go. And so it's gamified, where it's like this clout-based PvP server where it's everyone for themselves. Battle Royale, you can join a clan if you'd like. And I speak with this sort of like 2007 Xbox Live allegory because I think it's true. Because things are very semi-permeable. You can join other clubs or other clans if you so choose. Oh, I'm post-liberal. Oh, I'm a Bappian. Oh, I'm, this. I'm a Tradcath, etc. Oh, I'm a Fuentes guy or whatever.
Maybe
right?
one day you'll be a Geocell.
Yeah, maybe. The Duracell the cell, right? The Duracell batteries will beat on until the heat death of the universe. And so because it's gamified and there's sort of this controlled environment where it's like Twitter or Substack or whatever, a lot of that energy gets put into the social machinations of flinging shit at the other side. Now, some of it wholeheartedly is deserved. Like I like, Pat Casey going after, Patrick Deneen and the post-liberals and why Sohrab Ahmari is an anti-white Marxist. Totally fine, right?
Yeah.
But then other times, like, we do it because it's fun and we do it because we get our shits and giggles
Well,
in.
everyone has their unprincipled exceptions.
Well, yeah, everyone does. And like, for instance, I know that like American Krogan came back for an interview not too long ago. I haven't finished listening to it. And he talked to
Whatever happened to him?
Well, he stopped. I mean,
the
guy, he did an interview with Frody, and I would recommend listening to it. But he talks about how it's not just that the medium, he's talking about how the medium muddles the message. And I think that it gets muddled because we do treat this so much like a great big social, cafeteria fight. And I think that does have a lot of problems because, and again, there are a lot of problems with like Con Inc., and there's a lot of problems with mainstream conservative or even friendlier institutions in America. Like there's a lot of Claremont people that follow us, right? And they'll reference us on their own little show that gets like 500 views every week. But, they're like, well, you can still reference Covfefe and On, the woke are more correct than the mainstream. They'll reference Dave the Distributist. They'll reference people that you and I know and are mutuals with. But it's also like, we don't talk to them because we're never going to be associated with that lens of power. And I think people are okay with. Oh,
which show is this?
It's just, you can just go look up like it's the American Minds like weekly podcast.
Oh yeah.
Because they've referenced people before, like I just mentioned. But again, this is all an incomplete thought, and I just because it's a live stream, but I just think that there's for as much genuine issues that could be raised up either between men and women speaking past one another or having their own shit tests on the internet, both men and women, and also just politics in general, that people should look out their windows sometimes or smell the coffee. Like, things are a lot worse than they were maybe in 2016. However, things are also in a much better position rhetorically. I mean, like, not to shill or anything, but like, for instance, Jeremy Carl's book. I mean, like, you're having like a mainstream like Politico write about anti-white racism and the problems of civil rights law. Like, that's a pretty good start. I mean, like, that's an unimaginable thing to think about just even 4 years ago. And so I think you can say there's progress being made, but again, I think that people need to recognize that there is shit flinging, there are bad actors, there are just people who are there to have fun and to cause people misery. But like, hey, that's part of why you're here, and that's part of the game.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
it's like this is welcome. It's like I hate to reference a Will Ferrell movie, but like, welcome to the fucking show.
Which
You know,
Will Ferrell movie was that?
I think it's like The Campaign or whatever, but like I just remember
Oh
from the
yeah,
trailer,
The
like welcome to the
Campaign.
fucking show. Like that's it. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I
No,
don't
but
have a
that's what I
dog
mean.
in
Like
this
people are
fight.
talking
I
about.
just don't have a dog in this fight.
Well, okay, I understand. Like I think maybe if you like cool it with like the insults and the whatever, then maybe like it could on an aesthetic level sway more women. I mean, I have a lot of women followers, for instance, but at the same time, I think like the rhetoric of like, and this doesn't just apply to women, it applies to anybody that is either an old head or someone who's new or whatever. The rhetoric of like, oh, like they shouldn't be the public face, so they shouldn't set like they shouldn't be the ones creating or espousing ideas or policy or whatever. It's like, okay, what movement, what group, what are you referring to? I mean, what is this nebulous thing that you call like the dissident right or the e-right or whatever? Like, is there like a committee? Like, is it that the e-girls are going to go into your group chats? I mean, some e-girls are in group chats, but like, is it like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a media market, really.
Are they going to host another voice physiognomy contest?
Well, yeah. Like, are they going to host another debate? Well, apparently they are hosting another debate. I think Annika Chine's in a debate with someone, Brittany Fetigi or whatever her name is, Petigi. I don't know. Anyways, no, but like it's like what is this thing? It's really like it's an avant-garde. It's a vibe. It's not like a. It's not a cohesive like movement the way that we think of structural politics as such. And so I think when you're warring out with your little faction in this minority of a minority of a minority, then things I think what people are losing, they're losing the actual message of 2016, which is that posting can lead in the ideas and the memes and the aesthetics and the impermeable ideas. They're the ones that, like, those are the things that really matter when it comes to like thinking of things as like, okay, you are the face of this or whatever. We're not there yet, if we'll ever be there. So I think like you have to think of these things in those terms when you start talking about like, you know, women shouldn't be able to speak for us. But again, the question, you could debate that, but the question arises, what is us? What is a group or a whole or a movement that these women allegedly want to speak for? And I will admit there are some that are like these e-girls or these, you know, they try to create content or whatever, that they probably don't have the best interests of your average frog in mind. That is the truth. And for a movement that is ostensibly patriarchal and masculine, it is, I understand the warranted fears that a lot of people have, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like it's just, it's kind of ridiculous to talk about things in this way when we're sort of like losing sight of like what the original purpose of the frogs was. And so I think, you know, I understand like it's a very boyish high school locker room type of thing to get together and be like, look at this e-girl insulting us, and like go out of your way to post against her and whatever. I understand it's like again, it's a masculine type of high school ritual. And then the e-girls themselves, they have their little whisper campaigns and they have their little, you know, like we're not gonna vote for right-wing candidates unless you be nicer to us. And it's like, oh my God, like just save me from this call. And it's just, for the past 3 weeks, guys, this 4 weeks actually, the past month, it's like over and over and over again with the same. I don't know, man. Anyways, let's get to something more substantive. Do you want to talk about the Columbia thing again, or do you want to?
The women have gone insane.
Everyone's gone insane.
Everyone has lost.
Everyone
has lost their marbles. Good God, I just don't know what to do.
And I will say to some of these women, it's like, what did you expect? These guys, they're like, come on, man. Like the rest of the world's kind of like a longhouse. Like, listen, I'm one of the most pro women people on the E-right, but I understand that the rest of the world is like clearly slanted against men in a lot of different ways. So they come to the online world, they come to the realm of the frogs to, you know, to blow off steam. And I understand, like, okay,
where everybody knows your name.
There's a difference between like blowing off steam and having like masculine humor and poking fun at women or whatever. I understand, like, there's a difference between that and like, I've witnessed a lot of serious harassment campaigns against certain women online, and that's not cool, and I don't endorse it. But I think like I don't know. It's tough because I understand where they're coming from. It does suck to like come on a space where you're always being chided because you're a woman. I understand. But at the same time, like, I don't know. It's like one of those things where the male, it's like I don't know. It's kind of like I understand that when you're under siege in the rest of the world, that you come to the online right for a purpose, and to like sort of be henpecked. It's like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just wish people could just think things through a bit more. Like, just think of the ideas more than personalities or men versus gender wars stuff. I don't know. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's a cycle of coal. It's the coal hop. It's a coal chute. When you like go to a mine, it's like it goes into the chute. But I don't know. I think like on the one hand, it's like, what did you expect? But on the other hand, I understand like a lot of women have been seriously harassed by, well, anyways, say no more. Say no more. Are you there, Prude?
Yeah, I just gonna let you finish your piece there.
Okay.
I don't follow this closely because there are like 5 women on Twitter I follow.
No, but I'm only time. I don't want to talk about this. It's just that everyone's like, this is what they're constantly talking about. Every second tweet I see.
You know what's nice though is that we don't have to react to this. You can literally set the discourse yourself. This is the nice thing about having a show that thousands of people listen to. Is that
true.
We don't have to react to these things. We can simply either step above it and ignore it, or
Right.
we can address it head on, like you have.
Step over it.
Step over it. You have to do better. But no, seriously, I think that you have to go back for starters.
All right.
But I mean, no.
This is the Digital Archipelago episode. What episode is it?
87.
Please sneed those super chats, and the entropy link is also in the comment section. But please sneed those super chats. What were you going to say, Prude? I cut you off. I just had to...
Oh, no, I was simply just going to say that we have an opportunity to talk about literally anything else. And I'm glad that you picked a topic that I'm actually interested in. I think that's true, Brandon. I like to think that there's like he's like silently sweating blood on the other side of the country, like in Canada. And he's just like sweating blood profusely as if he's about to like eat his last meal. He's just like, the timeline, the coal, the gems. If I don't fucking talk about it, I'm gonna die. And
you know,
so here we are.
That picture of that guy in the high school computer lab, he's like, you know that one?
Yeah.
Gio, every time he doesn't talk about the timeline.
You know what killed me though is that like the guy, someone out there, one of you, it has to be one of you people. One of you in chat went out of your way to actually take the clip where Gio soy faces and turned it into a soy jack. Thank you so much.
Oh my
you absolute king.
You put it in the group chat. You brought this on yourself.
Yeah, I did. You did this yourself. You're like, oh, I'm gonna do the soy face, and then you do it, and I'm like, yep, it's inevitable. It's like you're like, I'm going to put this rake down on the ground, and surely I won't step on it when someone depicts me as the soy chip.
As a leaf, I'm gonna put the rake down.
You need to put the rake up one last time and schedule an appointment. It's over for you.
No, but it's true. It's like you figure I've been around the internet long enough to know there's consequences for everything. Do you think men should set the agenda or not? That's the bottom line. No one cares about incels, kids supposed to. Yeah, no, true. I mean, I mean, the right wing. Yes. I mean, yes, yeah. That's obvious.
Outside of like.
Women can have their input, but like
super rare exceptions where like they add their input and then that leads to a whole new discursive bend. I mean, like the history of gender relations is long, but the long arc of the sex wars is that men set the fucking agenda.
There has been women that have created concept. I mean, yeah, there has been. You know, people give her so much crap, but Kathrine has actually created a lot of different concepts. But anyways. But I have to say,
your other co-host, you whore.
Other
you scandalous wench.
Oh my god. But anyways, no, but that's true, yeah. But it's sort of like the soy face. That was funny. Next week I'll probably have that. I'll try to download the AI song. We can use it as an intro because I do have that meme someone edited where it was like Laurel and Hardy, but it was like us.
I
It was
love it.
funny. Anyways,
We have a lot of good memes.
Gio backstab 11 on Prude. Someone make the meme of me of like the you know, that was one of my favorite memes that came out of Gamergate was the that propaganda cartoon about the American Empire where it's like the
I'm holding on to this one for a very long time.
That's brutal.
I'm holding on to that for a very long time.
But you know the one where the American Empire is going through all these nations? It's the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, and he's knocking on all the doors. Yeah.
Remember the Carl Benjamin one where it's like Sargon? It's like UKIP, liberalistism, Gamergate. Someone should put me there. Be like, you know, Thermidor magazine. Break the rules.
Break the rules.
I've imploded so many different
I'm determined that this show outlasts the other ones.
Yeah, no doubt.
I out of sheer spite for the other guys. It's gonna be it's a great motivator, spite. It's a great reason to live. It's not a good reason to live, but it's a great motivator.
I was listening to a bit of the Jeremy Carl interview. I know I
recorded that like a month ago, and so but it came out pretty well. I was very happy with it. Yeah, his book is out. Go buy and read The Unprotected Class: How Anti-White Racism is Tearing America Apart. I really appreciated the footnotes because Jeremy really did his fucking homework, and he brought some literature in there that I don't see get talked about a lot by mainstream conservatives or some guys on our side. And so it was really good. I finally finished reading it. I'm finishing up my Substack review of it because I do have some critiques, but I'll save that for the Substack. But yeah, I mean, go watch that. It was really good.
Yeah, and plus, like, I mean, I'd imagine he is taking a bit of a hit for the book as well. I mean,
well, as he told me on the air, he wanted to title the book "It's Okay to Be White."
I know that would have never. Oh my god, they would have never let him do that. That was like,
yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but also full disclosure. Now that the book is out, I don't think that this means all that much. Actually, it means the world to me as like a frog. There are a few Twitter anons that are mentioned in the acknowledgments of the book. I'm one of them. I was not paid. I wasn't made aware until like a couple of months prior to like all this coming out. I didn't get paid for anything. I didn't make any money off this. All I got was a review copy. That's all I'm saying. Just put it out there for full disclosure. It's not a humble brag. Just before anyone's like, oh, you're fucking Claremont. And like, no, they don't give me any money. I don't get any Teal money. I don't get any Claremont money. If we
would you work for Claremont?
No, because I don't want to live in Washington, D.C.
I thought they were in California.
No, they're in D.C. Like if Claremont moved to Dallas, maybe that'd be a different subject matter. But I don't want to live in Washington. I would get mugged. Fuck no.
I have some friends in Washington. They say it's pretty bad now.
Yeah, I don't want to live there. I like my well, my state is slowly turning into California anyway, but like where I live is pretty nice, and I kind of want to hold on to that for as long as I can.
How long until DA starts selling boner pills? We have to do some kind of like Soul Bra-esque like.
No. I want. Okay, so since someone mentioned those pills, I really do want like review of the week. I want Review Bra or someone like Review Bra out there going to various gas stations across the United States, trying untested, non-FDA regulated dick pills just to give a review on like an objective, like Brian Johnson level of like analysis. He's like, well, actually, like, you know, like the fluid displacement rate under this pill was this much. And it's just like, I will never take those pills, but like,
oh man,
I feel like that would be really niche content. Like, I just want someone to be dressed like a 19th century aristocrat, tell me, okay, ladies and gentlemen, today we are reviewing like the Rhino XXL, last extra long, extra hard.
It's kind of like Nick
and
the
here's
Smoker instead of cigarettes.
yeah, except it's about boner pills at the gas station that are unregulated.
And like at the end, he interviews his girlfriend after a hot night. He's like, "So, honey, like, is it, did it work better?"
And she's just like reluctantly lighting a cigarette, like it'll be.
I'm kind of sore of this.
I'm kind of done.
Yeah,
kind of done. The ad revenue's not. It's not getting it, honey.
Rhino 69XL. I love these names of the nip pills.
Could you? Okay, so this is if I were a true grifter, I would be selling these pills, but it would be like I would sell these pills, but I would call them like put the D in ick, like something like that. So like you're marketing explicitly to like Zoomers.
No, but it's gotta be like right-wing schizo Zoomers. It's gotta be like
no. Oh, then you put pills out there, the little pills out there, like little dark age boner pills.
Little dark boner pills.
Oh dear God! Why did no? What's wrong with me?
Dark age. Dun, 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 dun. And you'll like, yeah, they'll have to get a cut. Like they'll have to. Who is it? MGMT?
MGMT is just like, why are we getting a cut of a check from a pill company?
E-Thought Redeemer.
Unfortunately, there are probably E-Thought Redeemer 5150.
I love how like California has like so much of a cultural prominence that people know what 5150 means.
That's
like,
so bad.
It's bad, man. Guyot Max.
I want that. And then you put it on the back like this product has been known in the state of California to cause cancer.
Triple Sneed pills. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
D pills are great with pre-workout. Well, there's some people that take like Viagra for workouts, gets the blood flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like even Olympic gold medalists have done that. But
I take it when I fly.
Oh, really?
It's not gay if it's the TSA.
Oh, whoa. True.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Does everyone not remember nice global war on terror shit posting? God, Gio.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
I haven't flown.
I remember that was a running.
I haven't flown in like 8 years, actually, now that I think about it. I haven't flown a plane since 2018.
There was a running gag on Ghost to True Capitalist Radio, like TSA sticks their hand down my pants. And it's like someone would like take the edit and they'd like edit the voice clip to make Ghost say that. That was funny. Anyways, so what other big oh, by the way, I know we talked about it yesterday, but like me and Oren, we did talk about the Columbia University stuff going on. So I had this stream with Oren where we talked about postmodernism, and just today you dropped the one with Jeremy Carl. Did you want to talk about that just a little bit? Did you give your hot takes?
Actually, I haven't, because I'm on my second week at this new job. I haven't really had a lot of time for tweeting. I've been writing little thoughts and snippets of ideas on Substack. I've been challenging myself to write 1,000 words or more during my lunch hour, so I'm trying to get back into writing more. The Columbia thing, I feel like, just echoes more of what I've seen since October 7th, which is that a lot of this anti-colonialism attitude is, the same kind of attitude that progressive Jews have had in America for a while. So they sort of equate it to whiteness, white settler colonialism. They think Zionism is an extension of that. And so a lot of progressive Jews don't view it, they don't view Israel very kindly. And you see that in sort of this more progressive secular Judaism compared to, say, red state, Republican Zionism, stuff like that. And so to see all these protesters, one, both white, but also very diverse, and this kind of culture war insanity will only continue as America gets browner, and you could easily correct that with deportation. But neither here nor there.
Well, it's different than in Europe.
We have to act in the world of political realism. So let's I'll be more grounded. I think that the thing also to consider is that there is you're seeing, I think, a moment where people are progressive or liberal until they get mugged by reality, and I think that you're going to see some kind of neoconservatism emerge out of sort of these ideological factions amongst progressive, conservative, or centrist Jews in America. I think you're already beginning to see that emerge. And also, of course, people in Congress are responding to this as if, they're burning crosses or something. Like this is somehow the 1950s.
Josh Hawley wanted to bring the...
Josh Hawley wanted to bring in the 101st Airborne and treat it like this was integration. And of course, anyone who has a moderately read opinion on integration knows that was not a good way to force things on the majority of the population by the force of a gun. And of course, the consequences of that in a lot of America's racial reckoning has been a disaster. I mean, the rings around cities illustrates the suburbs and white flight. But I mean, for this instance, at least with Columbia and what looks like a Chaz kind of situation, where Columbia University is now going remote, it does illustrate that the institution is pretty spineless, but also that it's tacit ideological agreement. And okay, fine, right? Like, regardless of whatever your opinion is on this instance here, I do know that all those people protesting would love to see me and my family get done in Haitian Revolution style. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for those people, because at the end of the day, a lot of these individuals are going to view Israel and are going to view Zionism, and are going to view these, these Jews as people like white settlers and colonialists. Now, of course, what's made things more interesting is that the census has been changed in America to where they really want white people to look like a minority. So now there's places for Jews, Middle Eastern, North African demographic.
Oh, they have a different demographic slot.
So that'll be interesting in 10 years or in a few years when the next census rolls around. But I simply see what I've said otherwise is that the progressive Leviathan sees a nation state that is, responding very similarly to how Israel has acted in the past, sort of with this vengeance, let's kill as many as we can for one of ours attitude. And they're protesting about it. And they're going to. When it's not like they're the most well-read people, but they also have the belief that Israel shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And also also it does not help that some of these professors in Columbia University are stirring shit on the internet and trying to make themselves look more like the victim than, all the attention brought on the students. So you have two groups of various ethno-narcissistic factions that are trying to stir as much media attention, and as Nightmare Vision pointed out, recreate these iconic images of the Civil Rights Act. And it's okay, we don't live in a world where famous photographs last a while ago. We talked about this 10 episodes ago.
I talked about this in my book, by the way, with that Justin Pierce guy.
But I mean, outside of a few photographs of the last 15 years, how many of them are really memorable or faded from memory? Like the Syrian or the Turkish boy that drowned at the shore. I don't know, maybe Trump, a couple of shots of him.
Trump
or something.
Going down. Yeah, Trump going down. The
there's not a lot of photos like that. And I mean, people are trying to recreate. We didn't even talk about this because this is also new. There was a second person who, maybe we did talk about last week, I don't remember. But now there's a second person that has lit themselves on fire in self-immolation and protest.
And he was schizo, yeah.
I mean, he was a legitimately unwell person. Let's not kid ourselves. And he wrote his manifesto thingy on Substack about why he's lighting himself on fire. And so I wonder if they'll go after Substack for that in the near future, like they already have been for right-wingers. But what it does tell me is that everyone's trying to recreate these iconic images, whether it's that, Buddhist monk sticking it to the Catholic government, or the president of Vietnam who was a Catholic. And we have that famous photo, or the photo of the execution from Vietnam that everyone associates with it. No one knows the actual, everyone forgets the context of it because it was.
He was a collaborator, wasn't he?
He murdered, he killed a whole bunch of people, and then he was summarily executed, like he should have been. But unfortunately, even the photographer said, "I really wish I didn't take that photo, or I took photos beforehand so people could see why he was justly killed." But instead, it turned into an anti-war photo.
Yeah,
when it shouldn't have been. And so I think
he was redacting civilians, if I recall.
He was.
In Saigon, yeah.
And so you have all these people trying to recreate like the civil rights era, anti-war era kind of stuff that was not even so popular or effective as we saw in 2003 when we were about to invade Iraq. Like, it didn't work. And so I think that one of the things to consider out of all of this sort of protests and movements is that despite the hot topic that is Israel, or the ethnic groups involved in this, is that the progressive people that are protesting and holding all these kumbayas, stop the war, stop the genocide stuff, just regardless of however you feel on the issue, those people would love to do you in happily, in the same way that they would like to probably, hurt all their like Jewish professors or whatever. But like, there's still an intrinsically anti-white system involved. It puts Jews in an awkward situation because for years they'll tell you that they're not white, while simultaneously telling you that they're white in a Schrodinger's minority style. But it's it is an awkward and ugly, retinal like a cornea transplant of progressive politics as we know it, right? Like how the whole racial and ethnic animus goes towards, and now it's being applied towards a group that has historically had these alliances leftward, but now it's kind of rearing its ugly head up against them again. Are you eating?
No, sorry, I'm getting a mint.
Oh, okay.
My nicotine mint.
You gotta get your divine intervention or whatever. But it's
I know Snickeret's less harsh than Zine. I know it's blasphemy, but
Oh well, who cares? I don't take them. The thing is that
I just don't want to be smoking cigarettes like my old man, like a pack a day.
Fair is fair. Hopefully that'll get you to reduce your smoking. But no, just to sort of wrap up my thought is that I think that, as I said on Oren stuff when the whole Chris Rufo, Claudine Gay thing happened, I think you're just going to see sort of another generation of Potterettes come out of the woodwork, and
in some ways that's even worse because then
that's what I told Oren. It's going to be worse. Like, you want neocons 2.0? That's fucking awful.
Only neocons that are more secular and like more don't have any.
But so I think that you'll see some kind of more ethnically conscious Jewish first kind of, and or at least with more more leadership, with a lot of American politicians and classes just going along with it, because that's always been the norm, is to be
but what's going to happen when the evangelicals boomers go? Then they don't really have that same foothold in conservatism.
Then things will be a little more transparent about how much influence they wield over the United States government now, won't it? But that also means that when the boomers die out, that America is going to be so demographically
but that's what I mean, Prude. Like, I mean, a lot of people make a lot of
show.
Yeah, no, but that's to me, like, a lot of people make, like, the problem is that the sort of fealty on the political right, like in conservatism, like that towards Israel, like I think a lot of it, the problem unfortunately is the semantics and the memes involved in terms of the media image of where the political positions lie in America. So for instance, those students, they just equate like, okay, if you're on the political right, automatically you're supporting the G word idol state of Israel. But it's like, that's not the case, because a lot of, like, I mean, without being too explicit, like, not everyone's in agreement with that narrative. Not everybody on the right wing, or not even conservatives, automatically support Israel no matter what. But the problem is you have Republican politicians who have for so many years been bought into the evangelical meme complex of like, we have to protect Israel because it's like our particular interpretation of blah, 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 that it really like pollutes discourse in a lot of ways. But then when those people go by the hand of time, right? Because like the boomers, some of them are going to enter their 70s, right? So it's like then I think the cultural and the geopolitical politics in a changing America would just be so fraught. You know what I mean? That the prior political positions of all sides are going to have to be fundamentally stirred up, specifically when it comes to this geopolitical issue. So it's sort of like, I mean, yeah, those left-wing students, they hate us, of course, right? To them, it's like no different than any conservative or any Republican or Trump supporter. But then again, it's like, I think, like I said this on Oren, like you have to really divorce the situation that's actually happening in Israel and what's happening to those people versus like their, their supporters in the West among the political left. And there is a lot of people on the political right that do support the Palestinians, just that they're, slanted as like third worldist or whatever. But yeah, so I mean, what can they do besides a even more secularized, even more culturally liberal version of neoconservatism? I don't know. That's who knows what will happen. They'll still be like intellectual dork web types. They'll still be like Barry Weiss containment zone, like Barry Weiss, Joe Rogan esque type of stuff. Yeah.
I honestly, and it's so, and it makes me think about normie world for a little bit, where it's just like I went to that Barry Weiss debate thing in Dallas a couple weeks ago, and just to listen to her talk was like really like, oh well, the left hates me because like I'm anti-woke and I'm willing to have a free debate with all these people, but like people on the far right don't like me because like I'm a lesbian and I have like dual citizenship, or they accuse me of dual loyalty, and I'm like, sounds like everyone just doesn't like you. But everyone's like cheering this on, and I'm just sitting there with my friend, and we're kind of like doing the like whole like peep show, like, are we the baddies? And it's just like, and it was just, I like our Potemkin village almost, if that's the outside world, but at the same time, right? Like those people do wield an unfathomable amount of influence on public opinion, and that's how things are going to go. And
the intellectual dork web types, yeah, they do. Yeah, Joe Rogan.
Like a friend of mine texted me, and he was just like, "Hey man, you want to go to this Jordan Peterson lecture in like Fort Worth?" And I was like, "No." And I was like, I didn't have like, I just no, I'm going to something else, which was true. I did go to the Barry Weiss thing, but I was just like, no, I don't want to see Jordan Peterson. Like, what year is this? But I get it. Jordan Peterson's still around doing lectures.
Has he talked about Young in like a few years?
I have no idea what he's been doing. I know that his wife recently converted to Catholicism, and he's struggling. Because like, and I said this in a very small, select, elite chat that I'm in on Telegram, but like I had said, like I don't hate.
You never
Jordan
get invited
Peterson.
to these things.
You're in it, you idiot.
Oh yeah.
But I said I don't hate him, and I get it. Like you can talk about him being containment or whatever.
He's a tragic figure. I think that's what makes
I see him as a deeply, and I said this. I see a deeply broken and troubled man who made deals that have done deep damage to his soul and body and mind. Because that's all I do. I look at him and I just think, God, like, if you don't have the fortitude to sell your soul and to like be a grifter, like so many of these containment type people, you will be eaten alive in the same way as, to go back to our earlier conversation, you will be eaten alive if you're someone like, say, Lauren Southern. And like, you can hate her or like her or whatever, but like, I'm sorry, the last time I checked, there were people that seriously tried to murder her that were political leftists, and there were
the state like tried to derail her family.
Yeah, so it's just like, okay, I'm aware of how awful this all can be.
Because I go from like, I don't like Lauren Southern, she says stupid things, she's a grifter, she ran away with the neat bucks, to like having a lot of sympathy for her. It's like, man, I just. If default secures the computer room Lauren Southern interview, I don't know what I'm gonna do. No, but like Jordan Peterson's a good example of that. Like he's obviously a man that has a fraught conscience over a lot of aspects of the media machine. But in terms of like the political left, like I said this on Orin, and by the way, I think Nightmare Vision may have been listening to that stream, because I did mention the thing about like the kitschfied image of the past. Like I talk about in my book, right? About like they're always, it's like to them, it's like eternally 1968 Democratic National Convention forever, right? I don't know. I'm not accusing Nightmare Vision of stealing my takes, but because a take to me, like a take is like not stolen. A take can never be stolen. A take is like a work of art. It's in the aether. It's for the intertextual nature of reality. Even that if you shall perish or you shall log off, which is, in my opinion, logging off is worse than death, then your takes will probably live on. And that's what really matters. But anyway, so
good. That's good to know what your take is on that. Then, if I ever eventually retire, that's worse than death.
Logging off is worse than death. Only the cold hands of mortality could prevent me from posting, right? But I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't tempt fate that way, of course. But I'm just saying. Anyways, so my point being is that, like, I don't think that these things in the coming years will be that much of a problem for the political left. They will find a way. They'll find a way to square the circle between the various coalitions. Because you notice one thing, okay, since Gamergate, is that a lot of people, a lot of posters were sort of trying to pick apart and exploit the contradictions between these various factions on the progressive stack, whatever you want to call it. But yet they've gained more power than ever.
But every contradiction is just an opportunity to rule.
And an opportunity
every time that a contradiction is pointed out or how things don't make sense, it will retrench ever so slightly and then come up with an answer. Or it reorganizes it under the intersectional umbrella.
100%.
Like it's really like, this is the thing that I know this sounds so, I don't know, 2014, but did we ever stop the intersectional framework? No, that is still the fucking operating model of the entire like left social gay coalition. Like, it works.
We're still arguing about e-girls having influence, and they're like, they're layers out.
They're like, oh yeah, you guys can argue about your e-girl. I'm simply just going to take over your country.
Can you do a Soviet accent instead of a German one for that one?
I should.
You should. Yeah, that'd be more accurate.
I really should, for obvious reasons.
Unless you're Jackson Hinkle and you believe that the political left is run by secret Austrian painters or something like that. I don't know.
Jackson Hinkle needs to be arrested for treason to the United States and summarily executed.
No, don't say that. No, well, okay, maybe him, but
no, don't say. No, yeah, fuck that guy. He's a traitor to the United States.
I mean, I'm not a total Russia shill. I'm not a total Russia shill. How
far up? Like, he's got someone up his ass. It's just like, come on.
He streamed to Iran. He's got an Iranian, like, certificate. Did you see that?
Oh man. It's only a matter of time before.
Like,
I'm gonna be like that Onion poster where it's gonna be like, oh no, a guy you hate really makes a really good point when like Mossad offs him, and you're just like, oh man, I don't know how I feel about this.
I don't know how I feel about the USG arresting Jackson. Go.
Real raw news source.
Real raw news. Jackson Hinkle shipped to Guantanamo this night. His last words, last words, damn you Anglo-Saxons. No, but for the record, I don't endorse.
For the record, the Digital Archipelago show is simply nothing more but an infotainment weekly news show that covers nothing more but satire, parody, and a humorous look at the news events. This does not actually illustrate our political loyalties or true beliefs towards anything. We are highly trained professional actors, and we stand with the nation of Israel.
Oh my God! You're doing.
Sorry, I had to rip off. I had to rip off the unpopular opinions bit for there, but no, seriously, don't take what I say.
We don't endorse the state coming after Jackson Hinkle, just as we don't endorse the state coming after Lauren Southern or Jordan Peterson or even Barry Weiss. Not that, although I don't know, Barry Weiss, she did cancel her professor when she was at Columbia, if I recall. She accused him of stuff, and it was.
I'm waiting for her to get. Well, correction. I don't follow her on Twitter. I wonder if I'm blocked by her, because when I went there, I was like, huh, I'm blocked by Soreb. I'm blocked by Cenk Uygur. I'm not yet blocked by Nick Gillespie. I am blocked by half the Reason magazine people. But
I'm blocked by Kathy Riesowitz.
No, that's okay.
I'm blocked by Ayala.
You're not missing much. Well, I have Ayala blocked, so I don't know if that block is a mutual.
I'm not missing her OF link.
No,
Kathy Riesowitz.
You're not missing the fluffers.
Oh my God.
You're not missing.
You know, Schizofrequency said he knew a fluffer that went to an Ayala party, and he's like, she just looked like a normal girl, and it would shatter every single preconceived notion that a lot of posters on Twitter have.
Well, then that would make a lot of sense as to why a lot of guys at the Ayala party came in the fluffer rather than Ayala. That would be so. I know she has no true her soul is so deeply damaged. Golly,
yeah.
But it's just I don't know what kind of damaged the ego that some guys are like, nah, I'm gonna take the fluffer.
Yeah, no, but my point about Jackson Hinkle is that you can have a position that is at least hearing the argument out from the Russian perspective in terms of how the war came about, without descending into like schizo, Duganite, third world is like me and Oren, we went to pains to critique what Dugan was saying in that article, and like
As one should.
As one should, right? Because like
in the same way that someone should criticize the ever-loving shit out of
Jackson Hinkle.
Well, no, well, sure, Jackson Hinkle, but I was also going to say like Mearsheimer. Like Mearsheimer deserves better critics.
He does. Same with like Finkelstein. Like Finkelstein has a lot of like leftist assumptions about his critique of Israel. Right? It's just
his critique of Israel is fundamentally
it's a settler colonialist. Like it's
a settler colonialist, and he hates the fact that his whole position on a certain event that happened in the 1940s is predicated on pursuing more of that settler colonialism. Like that's his gripe. His gripe is the left wing version of anti-Zionism that you might see out of certain forums 10 years ago, and you might
have seen a certain podcast networks.
Yeah. Some of these opinions were reiterated by certain podcast networks 10 years ago, and you're just like, wait, what? Again, like it's this to go back to like the Nightmare Vision tweet, like everyone's trying to just redo the 60s. Like, holy shit.
Everyone's trying to be either like, Malcolm
Some
X
people want to be Mayor
Norman
Daley
Potter
and like shut down these people, and others want to be like the Weather Underground.
Some people want to be Bill
The difference from like them and like today is that the Weather Underground, the Black Liberation Front, all these other commie groups, they won.
They won, yeah.
Like outside of complete prison abolition, in some places there is basically complete prison abolition.
You know what I should tweet, Prude? Do you remember how Dawkins, it wasn't Dawkins, it was Hitchens. About like that stupid line where they were like science builds buildings, a religion flies planes into buildings. I should tweet out that the Weather Underground realized that bombing buildings was bombing administration buildings in the universities was a waste of time, instead of just taking over those administrative buildings from the inside. Like they realized like bombing buildings in universities were a total waste of time. It's easier just to like take the universities over.
Yeah, it was easier to take it was easier to take them over. Well, I mean, some of them still, a lot of them did some of them went to jail. And I mean, a lot of these people just became college professors afterwards.
I have a theory, and I think you could probably find evidence.
Like Angela Davis is an accessory to fucking murder, and it's just like
she has so many. I saw her
speak at my college, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, please help us. We are ruled by godless authoritarians.
It's like if Carla Homolka came to my university when I was there, not just same level. I shouldn't say that. Well, maybe did she actually end up redacting people, Angela Davis?
She bought the guns that redacted people. It makes her an accessory to murder.
Well, that's kind of like Bernardo and Carla Homolka, right? Carla Homolka offered up her sister to Bernardo, so it's kind of like, even though you're not like pulling the trigger, you're sort of like Bonnie and Clyde.
By extension,
Bonnie was loading it, Yeah, Bonnie was loading the magazine, Yeah. So no, but I think
they won. But unfortunately, we have this boomer mindset, or what AA would call like a boomer truth, and it's just like, this, like the greatest damage done is a mind fuckery, is telling people, actually, nonviolent protests and sticking it to the man and taking a beating, that's how it's really going to illustrate change. And you too can say, I have a dream on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And it's like, no, actually, that's not how it works. Like, if we saw anything, apparently leftist terrorism and infiltration is the way to go. And most of it's sponsored by the state anyway. I mean, there are militant leftist groups in the United States that were heavily involved in all the rioting and took place in 2020, organizing the deployment of shields and bats and pallets worth of bricks to throw around and bottles of liquor. Like, you go look at like our friends over at like Forward Observer, and you're just like, wow, this is incredibly well documented. And so it's just, these things take time to organize, and clearly like the state looks the other way because. Let's face it, if you're going to go do these things and stand up against them, who are you going to end up suing in court? Who? The FBI? The Director of National Intelligence? The Secretary of State?
Brennan was an open communist working against Trump, yeah. So
yeah, why not?
There you go. You want Brennan to spy on himself?
Yeah.
I wonder if Jeremy Carl, if he knows this history, or if someone maybe like the good old boys, they know this. Or even like Sam Batch would be.
I think he's keyed in.
No, but like I know. Okay, I don't want to say that because for years now I've saying that like the rock comes from the inside. That you seriously have to like look at the ideological development of the New Left instead of just looking at the Frankfurt School. But there were. I wonder if Jeremy Carl or even Sam Batch would know the history more than us. But there is pretty much proven that the Soviet Union was like funding agitators in the West during the 60s, right? Like,
well, they've been funding agitators in the West since the Bolshevik
the
Revolution. I mean,
oh
like,
yeah,
just read like the first section of Stalin's War, and you talk about like the Internationale and how like orders would come from the Politburo, and then all the international sympathizers and all the international communists would like put pressure on other leftists and social democrats to go further to the left, lest they be called counter-revolutionary, and then lobby through things like the Fabian Society and lobby through like their access to parliament. And they had people in parliament, in Congress, and to spy. And I mean, it does not help to be a little, I mean, you should all be Anthony Sutton pilled, but like even McMeekin is just like, yeah, Americans like funded these guys. Like we just happily gave them money. And also we didn't think anything at all about letting these like Soviet aerial engineers visit American like manufacturing plants where they would put spies in every single one of America's major aeronautical companies, to where the three most famous Soviet era plane designers, where a lot of their plane names are still named after because of the companies they founded, a lot of them knew what we were building during the war.
What about Project Paperclip, bro? What about Project
Paperclip? I'm sorry, the communists won the Second World War, and their descendants rule over the United States.
Not according to Jack Sinkle. He said the opposite.
Well, I don't care what he thinks because he's wrong.
No, but here's my point.
I'm ruled by godless communists.
I would want to talk to someone like Sam Batch or Jeremy Carl to talk about this, because here's my point. I think, now I don't know, I don't have the evidence. There probably is evidence that exists. But I mean, there's some people like I know that, not that he's like kind of he is a neocon, but you know, Horowitz, he wrote Radical Son, his parents were communists, right? But I think the smarter ones, like Horowitz's parents or like Bill Ayers, here's what I think. In the mid-60s to going into the 80s, I think that they realized that they were a bunch of dumb marks in terms of like being like youth radicals that were bombing buildings. And they realized that, well, the Soviets want us to commit acts of terrorism or whatever, or we're being egged on to do this, when we should be really doing the whole like Victor Davis Hanson, what he talks about with marching through the institutions. I think a switch flipped in the leftist consciousness to be like, okay, we're no longer going to be marks for the Soviet Union. We're going to pursue a sort of like long march, and we're not going to like bomb buildings or bomb the Pentagon. That's useless, because it basically is just making us like, you know, we're FBI bait, more or less. And I think the smart ones in the New Left realize that a more pragmatic and prudent approach would be this like long march, rather than being a pawn for the Soviet Union to systematically weaken the American government through acts of terrorism. I think, am I crazy in asserting this? Like the smarter ones, like they knew where the future was headed, and they're like, well,
smarter ones became neocons.
Yeah, well, yeah, the smart ones became neocons. Yeah, so and of course the smarter ones on the political left that didn't become neocons, they like, I mean, they have like honorary degrees from all these institutions like Angela Davis, right? So it's
thank you for serving your time in prison. We basically agree with you. Here's this honorary doctorate and a sinecure to go speak at a university.
Yeah, no, but that's what I mean, Prue, because I think that a lot of them were being played as pawns because they were like these youthful radicals that like got off on the idea of like bombing ROTC buildings and university campuses. But then they realized like, well, the Vietnam War is over, and the Soviet Union, they're pretty much not going anywhere because they're being bogged down in either in China or in Afghanistan. And it's like, this doesn't look very good for us. So I think a lot of the smarter ones in the New Left, they had to really like hunker down and think like, okay, if we become university professors and we become bureaucrats, that's going to mean like more longevity, because the Soviet Union, like you have to realize a lot of these guys traveled to the Soviet Union, like Bernie Sanders, right?
Yeah.
Like they knew, like they couldn't ignore like the problems for very long, right? Of course. So I think they're like, okay, this romanticism of the Soviet Union, that's not going to do us any favors in the long run. right? Not that they intuited that it was going to collapse, but the Soviet Union, by the time you get to the mid 70s and the 80s, I mean, under Brezhnev, I mean, things are pretty bad. Things are pretty dark, man. It wasn't over, but it was kind of over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think like the smarter ones are like, okay, the purity of the communist ideal, both in China and Russia, that's not going to hold up for very long. And by the way, around the same time in the 80s, in the 90s, what do you have in China? You have Dengism. You have this supreme pragmatism approach of like, okay, we have to think of things in terms of thousands of years. And for maybe like a few decades or even a few century or two, we're going to like suffer and we're going to have to like really hunker down and like we're going to, we're going to have to become worker bees or whatever. But I mean, look at China now, right? Like it's not to say like this fantasy that the Chinese, they're just like ready to take over the West tomorrow, but more or less, I mean, you have a lot of people that have pursued a plan of political pragmatism in their own ideological radicalism that unfortunately the political right in North America and in Europe and in the West in general simply hasn't done that. Because I mean, I would argue the political right was effectively a zombie in North America during the Bush years, during even the Reagan years, and Obama was like the gravedigger. It was really only until Trump that people were forced to think about these issues deeply. So I don't know, man. Like I think
maybe publicly, I would
publicly, yes, publicly.
Publicly, I think would be the
Yeah.
important caveat, because I mean, I remember when Trump was running, NPR interviewed Pat Buchanan, and it's like the shortest interview ever because Pat's just like, I don't have time for this liberal bullshit. But what it was just essentially that, like, hey, he's kind of like the successor to everything that you've been warning about for like your entire life. He's like, yeah, but he kind of torched you back in 2000. He's like, yeah, but he's the heir apparent, like he's the one, and that was more or less it. It's kind of important to consider that, like, for as much as like new right, old right, these words get used around, the word new right was used back in the 80s in the midst of the early days of the Reagan Revolution. And you have to understand that there were some really far right guys that were big part in that. And you read their works. A lot of the like pro-white, sort of that kind of area of like of Twitter or like the right in general owes a hell of a whole lot to Bob Whitaker. And Bob Whitaker was a big inspiration and a mentor to Sam Francis. And these guys worked in government, and these guys did a lot to push things in a further rightward direction, only to watch it all get eaten alive by the administrative state and by neocons and by special interest groups. Not to mention foreign policy, but kind of derails the interest because.
And Bob Whitaker, like, you have to realize he wasn't like a fringo, like handing out pamphlets. He wasn't like.
Well, they did do a lot of that.
Well, yeah, but like he was
like, you read some of like, again, I mean, like, read the New Right papers. There's like, we did direct mailers. We did everything we could to bypass mainstream media and television. You're reading the same sort of disintermediation stuff that like Nick Land's talking about in Xenosystems, except it's like nearly 50 years old at this point.
He was an American medical professional, former 6-term U.S. representative from Kansas. He wasn't a weird outsider. He was like a serious guy. Where did he go for school? Went to Emporia State University. I think he was a lawyer, was he not? Like, I think he was a doctor. He was a
medical, but he knew politics well.
Yeah.
But also, like,
the point being is he was a serious man.
Bob also knew where the country was going.
Yeah, but he was a serious guy. He was a serious politician. He wasn't like a weirdo you could point to as being like a skinhead or whatever. Like, he wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, he wasn't.
Well, maybe some of his later work is definitely some of the
he went off the rails a little bit.
Well, yeah. But I mean, also, like, a lot of the early talking points that everything from, literally talking about, demographic replacement, or, the desire to just destroy like the majority stock of the country, like things that we see that the left does all the time. Like, he's writing about this towards the end of his life and was kind of talking about it towards the end of his career. And you're just like, yeah, people owe a lot to him, whether they know it or not. And he was getting a lot of that stuff going long before I was born.
But it's funny how like for him coming like from the like anti-jihad, like neocon sector, like a lot of these talking points, unironically, and at least the new iteration of it came from like Mark Stein in America Alone. Like, people forget that he was like, people were like laughing at him. about what was going to happen to Europe. And then it happened, and then I remember that, man. I remember I was a big
You can take,
fan.
and again, I know that if you're solely focused on one particular group, you're gonna like look at Mark Stein, roll your eyes. You're gonna look at counter jihad. There's a lot of cringe about counter jihad because
tons of.
I mean, like, listen, like the Islamic world, even from a Huntington perspective, right? Like, that is not in your interest as a Westerner, whether Christian or otherwise. If you are part of Europe, if you are part of the Anglosphere, whatever, that's probably not your cup of tea. It ain't your bag, baby, and it's not for you. And it's a civilizational other that will clash with you, and clash means violence. So either fight or die. That's how it works. However, a lot of the unfortunate aspects of like recognizing that clash of civilizations also led to the dumbest political positions and some of the dumbest subversive characters ever kind of emerging for the sake of, well, let's just go bomb the Middle East.
That's the problem,
and send a lot of American soldiers to die. And now both of those countries are effectively ruled by people that don't like America. And it's just like, I know it's like, how do you, and it kind of goes back to some of that shit that a certain subcontinental Twitter poster had pointed. It's just like, those men did their duty, whether they did it for the right reasons or not. And it's
you have to divorce what the average American soldier is fighting for versus what the state demands.
A lot of guys did. A lot of people that I know and family friends did not come home. And
they were fighting they were fighting for each other because you're in a war zone. You know what I mean? Like, you can't.
That's really all that matters, is getting home alive.
Every soldier that has come back from Iraq, and almost not everyone, but like most soldiers that I've seen interviews of that have come back from Iraq and Afghanistan, they're like, the politics of it we don't agree with. We knew we were being played. We knew we were being sold. We were sold a bill of goods by our government. But when you're in that position, you have to fight for your brothers. And that's this. You know what I mean? Like, and that's why I think you shouldn't blame was there atrocities committed by American soldiers in those wars? Yes. Were they put in an incredibly impossible situation like they were in Vietnam? Yes. And I think it's a very complicated issue, but I think like hanging those policy decisions over the head of American soldiers is not really, that's besides the point. You there, Prude?
Yeah, I was just listening to you talk.
Yeah.
And then all that kind of comes to a front with the absolute Democratic majority that comes out of 2006, where Bush is kind of cucked out for a little bit towards the end of his term. And then, of course, the financial crisis hits.
Yes.
And then as America tries to recover from that, and it reacts violently in the other direction.
With hope and change.
With hope and change. And it's great mixed-race black hope, Barack Obama, which turned out to be a disaster for the country. I think that Barack Obama is one of the most consequential presidents in the history of the United States, whose legacy has not been fully written down or discussed, despite the fact that he did accomplish what he said he was going to do. The country was radically transformed under him. But also, Barack Obama has this weird... he's like the 2010s have this weird cultural uptick where like new atheism kind of begins to wither away. Like, okay, Barack Obama's in office, the George W. Bush evangelicalism is gone. You kind of don't need us. Like, they're still there, but they're kind of dying out as Barack Obama does the troop surge, increases the drone wars. But culturally, we get the rise of like sort of this golden age of like gaming, right? A lot of online stuff, but then also this emergence of young men and young women who are economically dispossessed. Some of them were occupiers, some of them were Rand Paul types, some of them were Tea Partiers before they got
the first generation to have negative social mobility.
Negative not negative, well maybe negative social mobility, but also just like the firm understanding and realization we're not going to have it like our parents.
Yes,
despite
the first generation in a very long time.
From when they were children, you are inheriting the 21st millennia and you are inheriting Pax Americana. Good luck. Because everyone tends to forget one of the most hotly debated issues in the United States prior to 9/11, literally a month before 9/11, was stem cell research. Everyone forgets this. because literally a month later, the world ended for the world order as we knew it. And so
nobody cared about Dolly the lamb anymore.
Well, I mean, a big scandal in South Korea would, but I mean, so what emerges out of this? You get the desire to look backwards, this sort of nostalgia, also this new age kind of angst that comes out in sort of like this folkish music, just questioning things like, maybe it's good if I drink raw milk, or maybe it's, maybe I should be smoking cigarettes. And so the show says you get the hipster.
Yes. But I think before we read the article, I think that
an hour and 20 minutes.
I know, man. I know. But it's been good stuff, though. We've sort of guided our way through very sticky problems that were current events. But I think we have to situate the time frame. We have to situate the gist that the hipster comes from. A lot of dispossessed young men and women, like you say, a lot of like older millennials.
2012.
2008 to 2012? Yeah.
2000, 2007 to 12. The really 5-year period where I think the hipster is like big up and coming.
I think I had someone that DM me that said, in terms of music culture, when Jay-Z came out with a certain album, like the hipster was done for, and like they were amalgamated into like a bigger thing.
The certain people in Paris.
Yeah. But no, but
or as we call it, Paris.
Let me read it. This is from. So this is shout out to a follower of mine. Let me pull up the DM. Where is it? Yeah, Ben. So Ben, he used your name, so I'm not going to say his. But he, hi, I saw an Orange show that you're doing a podcast on the rise and fall of the hipster. I was a dirty hipster living in Brooklyn in 2013 to 2014 when I saw the subculture collapsed in real time. I can give you a couple of stories from the very brief period if you're interested. I'm not sure what your sources say, but Jay-Z becoming the face of Brooklyn. That year was the kill shot for the hipster culture. You could see the entire culture evaporate like a puddle. Yeah, around 2014, 2015, that was the dissolution of the hipster. They were done for. I know that even before then...
No one wanted to be seen talking like Sephiroth.
Exactly, yeah. No one wanted to be talking like Mufugan Sephiroth. But then also... There was on YouTube a very popular parody song. Like, you had like Barely Political, you had like Funny or Die or whatever. You had like all those groups, right?
Jab and all that other stuff, yeah.
Yeah, they were doing skits and musicals. There was this music video called like it was from Britain. It was from like 2009. But they didn't call them hipsters. They were like, look at these. I forget what they called them, but it was like basically parodying the hipster. And it was like a moment where hipsterdom had a moment of self-awareness. And you could see this in popular media at the time that were geared towards millennials critiquing the hipster. Like, didn't even BoJack Horseman critique the hipster, where the guy had like the baby cart or whatever? He's like...
But I don't like, do we mean like the baby car with a dog?
No, it was
or just like the aversion to children.
It was a show. It wasn't BoJack. It was another show that parodied hipsters. I forget what it was.
Because to me, I think that hipsterdom to me is just it's so very white. And I don't mean that in like the progressive way.
Well, you had blogs,
the troubling whiteness of hipsterdom. But I mean, like it was like hipsters were white, like that. The stereotypical hipster was like a white, late 20s, early 30s male who was realizing that things did not go his way, that there was an alternative lifestyle to things, that we could appreciate the analog, that probably could like maybe quote a Mark Fisher line or two, but was also really into music like the Decemberists, or was really into some like underground band. Oh, you've never heard of them, right? Or like, oh, you don't listen to them because they're so like they're not. I listened to them before they were cool, as the joke used to go about hipsters, because like it was a niche subculture that was easily identifiable by dress, appearance, and language, that had this like weird social identifier that like, yeah, that's a hipster, but you don't want to be a hipster, like there was this. moment of like, this is a group that you could easily identify, and you could easily, I would argue that you could probably join if you just got into something and just became sort of like a hobby horse of it all. And so
Yeah.
you were part of something, right? Like there were, and I think this is the early parts where you had like Dig and Reddit and like all these early other, like you can go to various forums for music and such. Some of it was based in Chan culture, a lot of it wasn't. And so you had all these like, you had
Yeah,
blogs,
Pitchfork.
you had a ton of fucking blogs. I mean, not even just like Pitchfork, sure, but I mean, like there were so many bloggers back then. Like that was the real dawn for the blogosphere, for music reviews, for foodies, for alternative lifestyles, new age spiritualism, the best kind of music to listen to whilst high, what kind of hats or whatever you were going to wear with regards to fashion to stick it outwards. You were trying to be a counterculture for the Great Recession.
Yeah.
And it died very quickly when we decided to say that the Great Recession was over, and you look like get your white ass out of here. Because like what killed the hipster was the Great Awakening. It wasn't. I mean, yeah, Jay-Z definitely would do it because there was this re-emphasis on you weren't listening to a folk band that all the songs on the album sound very similar. Instead, you're listening to you know those guys in Paris, and you're listening to
Kanye.
you're listening to Kanye again, and it's not the George W. Bush doesn't listen, doesn't care about black people Kanye. It's power Kanye, and so like hip hop makes this pop culture resurgence where it's not
This
just for
huge
black
cultural
people anymore,
ascendancy. Yeah.
where pop culture takes over, and like the white hipster folk band and the alt lifestyle gets swapped out for an urban cosmopolitan black taste in music with hip hop. That's one part of the demise of the hipster. The other one I think is just straight up politics,
Yeah.
because let's look at some of the things that were just listed out about like hipsterdom. There were kind of, it's like the meme about the two castles, like which way Western man type deal, which way hipster man. Like you either became a
Midwestern
far left
Trad Dad. Yeah.
you
Oh,
became a political activist on the left, and like you just like your new atheism made you like an embittered, angry lefty, and maybe you decided to take hormones later and you
you
recognize
question
privilege.
your identity. Yeah.
Maybe you played Fallout New Vegas and you questioned your identity. Who knows? Although we will not let those Transformers take our Fallout New Vegas. That's my soy, damn it, not yours. Go.
It's my garbage. Yeah.
It's my garbage. Give me my garbage. It's not yours. Get your malformed hand away from it.
They've taken over pro wrestling, so it's over.
Get away from me, you cool. But anyways, like but also the fact is that there was also that moment where like different kinds of politics, because like
Yeah.
no one wanted to be a neocon anymore. Like
No.
I know it's still popular, but like there was the Rand Paul revolution. There was this response to the left from outside Romney, Paul Ryan stuff. Not to say that like all of that goes out the window as the culture war retrenched itself, dug new lines in the Obama presidency,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden, again, a mainly kind of like white niche subculture had to ask the question, well, where am I going to go? Because on one hand, my dad voted for George W. Bush, and that's kind of cringe. But on the other
Oh,
hand, well, I'm saying this as and the hipster says this. I have a mug that says, "Do you miss me yet?" with George W. Bush's face on it, but that's also for shits and grins. But the hipster's also looking at like the left, and they're like, well, should I check my privilege and like subject myself to this like kind of not so friendly space for me? And I feel like that was a part of it, like the ascendancy of black hip hop culture, the slow economic recovery, let the good times roll kind of feeling out of Obama, and also the reemergence of cultural battles that we're still fighting to this day, and we have lost hundreds of thousands of lives to on the
yeah.
culture war front. I think those are the three big
Oh,
demise for the hipster.
also, I think there was sort of like a, even though it was drenched in irony, there were pockets of like attempting sincerity that then were taken over by like an ironic gist that conquered it. For example, you mentioned the Ron Paul revolution. I saw this transformation in real time on what preceded every sort of cultural slackening of conflict is a form of a reintroduction of New Ageism. I remember the millennials that were acquainted with the new age, I remember this on early Facebook where people would be listening to like Terrence McKenna, they would be taking shrooms, they would be listening to Alan Watts lectures, and they were trying to like really get it. Some of them went to like, that had money, they went to like the Amazon and they got scammed by some shaman to take ayahuasca, of varying purity. And so, but then what happened though, I remember that they were like all hopped up on Ron Paul, but then slowly but surely you had the Bernie bro infiltration of these new age Facebook groups. I remember seeing guys that were like studying anthropology that were talking about like post-colonialism and how this is cultural appropriation. And therefore, then you have, by the time you get to like the middle of the Obama period, it was over. And then you had either a lot of these guys that were like millennials taking drugs that voted for Ron Paul, a lot of them actually surprisingly went to the right wing, and then a lot of them became like Bernie bro socialists, and like then later like woke people. Like I remember, if you go back, if you can find the archive, go to the 2017 millennial. Every
That was the first one I ever saw.
I think it was 2016 or 2017. Every second interview he did, someone mentioned psychedelics. It was incredible. And there were like people that were on the left, like writing articles about this. And so that was like just a microcosm. But then, of course, you do have in music culture and in electronic music culture, who's a great resource for this? He came out with a book recently under his former pen name, not Francis Nolly, but Ed Nolly or something. I know he pisses off a lot of people. He makes a lot of it. Okay, whatever. But Pill Eater actually is a great resource for all this stuff. He like really, he really knows like the emergent online hipster culture that bled into what we know as the E right now. He actually is unironically a good historian when it comes to this. Like he was there in Ground Zero, right? Like he was there during the You're the Man Dog stuff and the migration from 4chan and but yeah. So yeah, and also let me look up his new book. I bought it recently. It's like 700 pages.
Oh geez.
It's called, I think it's a compilation of stuff he's been writing for a while. I kind of feel bad. My book is only going to be like 400 pages, but c'est la vie. His book is called, if you go to Amazon, look up.
Thank you for informing me how long I'll be working on this audiobook, Gio.
Joe Nolly. Sorry, Prude. Joe Nolly. He uses the S word, but sunsetting, but the real word. Asian and promiscuous, the muse we neglect by Joe Nolly. He says it's his magnum opus on philosophy and music and culture. And maybe I should just put the Amazon link down. But yeah, if you look up Joe Nolly in Amazon, you'll find it. It's like 700 pages. But anyways, yeah, so you have this cultural heyday. And I think what distinguishes the hipster is sort of the quest for cultural authenticity, to where they're actually archiving certain things. They're actually getting into niche cultural interests. And there's a lot of emphasis on archiving obscure niche things. Because like you said, it was predominantly like an urban white kid type of cultural thing.
Oh, yeah.
And so therefore there was an awareness of preserving culture. And a lot of it wasn't as bad as we have now, because what comes after the hipster? And this isn't my analysis. This comes from a certain forum of anime posters. What comes after the hipster is the soegalitarian. That is a consumer rather than an archivist of culture.
I think another important thing to consider is that consider when the hipster emerges.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Mass, like the social media sphere as we know it, is just beginning to take root.
Like you said, the blog became
but the blogosphere gives way to social media. Like
yes.
if you have to be a really good, dedicated fan or reader or autist to really stick with a blog.
Yeah.
Okay, Twitter really takes off at this time. Facebook is at its prime, or it's beginning to hit its prime. And your YouTube is also getting there too. So all of a sudden, we are now seeing the last of a niche. You have to kind of know it to know it. Otherwise, it's just parody. Subculture lose itself in the ether of the internet.
Yes.
It's the last one that I really think has a sort of niche geographic area Like, because to me, I think hipster, I think New Yorker, I think Californian, I think Valley, I
I think
think
Austin,
people that are,
Texas.
I think Austin, I think the highlights of sort of this like liberal hippiedom that is reacting to the Great Recession, is reacting to the fact, oh shit, Obama's in office, like we won, but also we didn't win, but also we can flourish under this new culture, this sort of like progressivism and these like micro utopias inside the cities.
This
So we're now,
openness, yeah.
like there's this open, like I can listen to things that no one else listens to because I can go down 6th Street after I get off my class at UT Austin, and then bam, I'm gonna listen to this band that you've never heard of before, and I listened to them before you got big, and all of a sudden, that was there. They were localized clusters of this identity that everyone could tell who was who. But as the internet emerges into how we know it as this great mass democracy social media thing, that gets examined and then self-examined and then critiqued and then exposed to outside progressive ideas as well as conservative ones, to where now all of a sudden, oh, I have to really check my privilege. Oh, I should be more egalitarian. I should be more mindful about the environment. I should be really more mindful about how all these things intersect and overlap. And then bam, what do you get? You get the soy millennial. You get the soy egalitarian.
And then it becomes about checking my privilege after
Exactly.
2014.
It dies.
Yeah,
it dies.
Yeah. There was much more of a political openness to the hipster than there was in like the the 2010s. The 2010s was
honest to God, I think Spencer Grunhauer is actually a really funny example of a good hipster, because there were people like that.
Yeah, there were pedantic autists that really
there were pedantic autists about sex.
Yeah.
Like
some of them actually did have sex. That's the thing.
Well, a lot of them did. Let's not kid ourselves. There are a lot of Zoomers that have. There are a lot of Zoomers out there that have, and a lot of Gen Alpha that have a lot of hipster parents that aren't going to tell them about it. Right now, there is a gentleman who is ethnically ambiguous that was born maybe like 15, 18 years ago, and his parents were hipsters. And he doesn't want to let them know that he's the one making little dark age edits while his parents are still listening to the Shins. Like, he's out there somewhere. He's out there. He's probably someone's mutual.
It's funny because I saw this tweet today by a follower of mine who he took a video. He quote tweeted a video of this 8-year-old kid or 5-year-old kid that's at a tractor convention who's like growing up in like a farm, and he like really knows at such a young age, he really knows. He's talking with the what do they call it? Because I've been to some of these things with my old man for construction. The dealer, the equipment dealer, and the tweet was Gen Alphas shaping up to the Pareto generation. 20% will be autistic stallions who are basically more or less going to keep civilization running and alive. And the rest at 80% are wasteful biomass.
I think he's right.
It's true, though. He's right. It's true. I hate to say it, but like 20% of Gen Alpha is going to be like
they will be kings amongst.
Yeah, they will be kings amongst the sewer.
They'll be the kings of the Stone Age. It's like the rest of these people just turn into like wage slave, like code monkeys, you know, like
there'll be a new form of neo-serfdom in our lifetime. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, finally, like my neo-feudalism arrives from the future, and here it is. It's 20% of Gen Alpha telling me.
That was like that weird animation film that Vincent Gallo did a voice for.
Hey, we got a Vincent Gallo reference.
The Gio bingo card. Vincent Gallo did this weirdo film. He voiced the main actor, where it was like Europe was connected by a giant rail tunnel system. And there was like a overclass, like oppressing the serfs, and everyone was doing like a form of like corporate neo-feudalism. Oh, what was it called? Let me look this up. Vincent Gallo. Well, it's called I'm looking it up. It was called like Metropia. 2009 Metropia. Great film. Great, very weird film. The faces are very weird, but it's a great film nevertheless. Stellan Skarsgård is in it, and his son Alexander Skarsgård, and Juliette Lewis is also in it. But it's an animation film. Yeah, but anyways, so yeah, that's largely true. But to go back to the hipster though, even like there was a weird cultural ascendancy of, as much as people talk about how the hipster represents an ironic detachment in things, there was still like a weird cultural ascendancy of I'm being ironic to the extent that it's sincere, to where I'm actually caring about very niche things that are being uncovered, and I'm actually caring about becoming like a blogger archive of this very niche thing. Whereas nowadays it's lost in the absolute sludge gray goo sea of pop culture industry kitsch nonsense. The
Yeah.
hipster was not kitsch. The hipster was anti-kitsch. Kitchification of culture came like the 2010s.
But this is where the irony poison starts.
Yes, this is where the real irony poison starts. Yeah, like the real politicized kitchification of all culture that arose in the 2010s was largely responsible because of social media, let's face it, and was largely responsible because of the political ascendancy of a certain form of global liberalism, as my book talks about. I think like that bodied the hipster, like you were saying, more than anything. The hipster couldn't last because authentic niche culture was either seen as ridiculous or seen as besides the point, or couldn't be swallowed up into the kitsch political machine of the left, of the liberal left, that was then achieving global ascendancy because of the image of Obama. And of course, then you have the targeting of that demographic that made the hipsters during what neurosis in the 2010s, Prude? The campus,
yeah,
sexual politics.
I was about to
yes.
say the dear colleague letter also is
yes.
like brings the hammer down, because any sort of semblance of sexual relations as we knew it gets utterly wrecked by the dear colleague letter and certain people
Jackie
hoisting
UVA.
mattresses around.
Oh yeah, Emma Solkowitz. Yeah.
Was that rape culture?
That was her letter. What was it called?
No, the dear colleague letters from Obama.
Oh, okay, yeah. Emma Solkowitz.
Where this is where you get the total expansion of Title IX and like the concerns over sexual assault and harassment in colleges. This is where you get the whole statistic that 1 in 4 women are sexually assaulted at university.
Duke Lacrosse is also in this mix.
Duke Lacrosse. Every story that you remember from like the anti-SJW culture war days about rape culture helps the death knell of the hipster.
Yeah.
Because the male space and free love, or it's not even free love, but like, let me just bag this chick, that dies almost fucking instantly.
A lot of the dime store, like indie women that were like the feeding ground of all these hipsters that how were like cool or whatever, that goes away. And let's face it, I mean, okay, there were like a lot of abuses too, but then the problem is you get these like fake stories like Duke Lacrosse and Emma Solkowitz that just totally pollute the discourse forever. And a lot of the indie bands, a lot of the metalcore bands that have a lot of predation towards young girls or whatever, that like unfortunately that has a chilling effect to where when you have enough like Law and Order episodes about Jackie from UVA being real, then they did one about like that one who was like published in Reason magazine. She was like a prawn star that was like a libertarian. What was her name? Bella Knox or something
like that.
Yeah, like they had like such weird like blowback even in libertarianism, because then when you let in Bella Knox, they let in Emma Solkowitz and all the people that were sort of like the old heads from the Lou Rockwell days. They're like, what the hell is this? Like, what is Nick Gillespie doing? Right? And it just, it's like it was a giant mess, because libertarianism, you have to remember, even in the late 90s, was seen as like the chic, hipster, cool thing. And like, yeah, a lot of those guys had like a lot of weirdo politics. Like Robert Anton Wilson went to Libertopia, and a lot of them, they were like, how should I put it? They had like questionable sexual politics as well, if you know what I mean. Say no more. Not Robert Anton Wilson per se, but like a lot of those old school libertarians, they had a lot of like, let's not talk about it, Prude. Let's not talk about it. They knew the age of consent laws in every state. Let's put it that way.
The left libertarians.
Yeah. So
libertarians could be here, he thought. With a car,
so like libertarianism and socialism both become like chic, hipster, cool. Right?
They get swayed to all hell.
Yeah, and they get
like the modal libertarian that Murray. Okay, so like, I just want people to say, I know. but I get it. I'm already preempting it. But please go to like the Lou Rockwell report from like 93 and go listen to Murray Rothbard. This is like 3 years before he dies. But like go listen to Murray Rothbard like bitch about how libertarians has just turned into like, I want to smoke weed and I hate my mom and dad because they made me go to church on Sunday morning.
And I like
he's
young
just
girls.
like,
yeah.
he's just like, you guys are, he basically just calls these people a bunch of
Filthy
mentally
hippies.
Mentally deficient man children. And basically that kind of, outside of like the Rand Paul people, like whatever calls libertarianism is basically just turns into the modal libertarian, my dude weed libertarian. On one hand, I'm so glad that the hipster is dead, but on the other hand, it is like a weird piece of cultural history that, as you mentioned earlier, no one's recorded. Well, maybe someone has, obviously, but still.
Well, it was also taken over from the outside as well by various corporate forces. Like even Chris Ott alluded to that in his series about the demise of not the demise of Pitchfork. He wrote this. He recorded these in like 2012, but when he left Pitchfork, he said like, okay, you were a hipster, you were like an older millennial, or you were a Gen Xer, and you were going to an obscure launch party in a garage in Bushwick or Brooklyn or Williamsburg. Now that same obscure launch party at Williamsburg in a garage, that's being sponsored by Absolute Vodka. And it's like, it's a cycle of corporate
that obscure
takeover.
niche party you're going to in Nashville is sponsored by IM 1776.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So again, the politicization of the hipster, like you either took the pheromones or you went to like a NPI conference, like it's just.
It's funny how a lot of those like far right podcasters were going to Occupy Wall Street with people that took hormones.
Like, isn't that just like you either? I can't say it, so I'll just be again.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. No, but it's true because like a lot of the aspect of hipsterdom was this sort of like Krust punk DIY culture that was, you know what I mean? Like you had the space to explore this fantasy of a much older Gen Xer or even like pre-Gen X punk rock person. And it was a different style. But then, of course, a lot of these hipsters, they grew up and they became like Midwestern trad dads, or they became like these twee.
Some of these people did get jobs. True.
Yeah, they got jobs. Yeah. And so they were forced to marry up the indie shop woman. And they had 1.5 kid.
Take your shot, bro. Take your shot. Ask her out, Chad. Yeah. Ask her out.
I don't know what to do, man. I gotta like go to grad school.
Get me yourself.
I gotta figure it out.
Oh
bro.
God, that was the other thing too. That was really the start of it wasn't the start, but it's more in my cultural memory of people going to grad school because they didn't want to be an adult and get a job.
Yeah. No, that's like the Maddie. I mean, I went to grad school because I didn't want to be an adult and have a job, but like,
hey, you won.
I won. Sneed those super chats to make me keep winning, please. God, sneed those super chats. Entropy link in the pin tweet in the comments. But no, but you, for example, like Maddie Iglesias,
your super chats pay for my trip to get my maid appointment. Please sneed them so Gio can win.
Yeah.
Get me out of this wage cage.
No, but like Maddie Iglesias was like, he had the affectation of a college radical.
I bet you he was a lot more masculine, and I bet you he actually got around. He did 10 years ago.
Did you see him with the Kropotkin shirt, the Kropotkin jacket?
Like he looked like someone who was such a total sexual sleaze at like these DSA meetups like 10, 15 years ago.
And then
in 2010, that guy fucked. And now he's like desperate to make sure that these women in his little black book never Me Too him.
No, because he's got a kid now with his wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but then what happened was under the Obama years, he was going on Blogging Heads TV with Ross Douthat.
I know, arguing with the New York Times his idea of a trad calf.
yeah. And then also what happened was under the Obama years is that a lot of these hipsters that went to grad school, they all became policy wonks. And they're like, we have to focus on like hard-nosed progressivism, and I have to like go to Washington and like push my bill through about like gender pay gaps and like different oh my god, how should I, like, different like public busing or whatever. Like they became the monsters that they rebelled against. But
Yeah,
I
no,
know
absolutely true.
I
Because like
wanted to,
that's also where you get
yeah,
the whole Hassan Piker gay wonk thing.
yeah.
Because like, what does that mean? Well, he's a gay
Oh,
policy
whatever happened
wonk.
to that guy from Vox, Gay Wonk?
That's a great question. What's that?
What was
No,
his
no,
name?
that's
Carlos
Carlos
Riza?
Maza. I'm thinking Carlos Maza. Yeah, whatever did happen
Maza.
to that guy?
How
That's a
he
name you don't see on the discourse anymore.
I think even like leftist people thought he was cringe. So they're like, you know
I'm gonna
what?
go look that up. Whatever happened to Carlos Maza? I'm
I was
googling
looking at
that.
what happened to Lacey Green last
Carlos
episode.
Maza. What is he? God, he looks like such a. His first photo I see is like the Business Insider photo shot, and it's just the most punchable face fucking imaginable.
Oh man.
Hold on, let's see what he's doing right now. Let's see what he's up
Did he
to.
go after Sargon?
Well, he did, yeah. So he is not with Vox anymore because Vox is dead. Ding dong,
Vox is dead?
I don't know if Vox is dead, but
I think Vox has like a skeleton crew.
I think Vox got bought out because they did lose a lot of people. He
Yeah.
did start a media critique channel on YouTube in February of 2020. So he left Vox and now he's just a YouTuber. And
Does he get
before that,
views?
he's got 110 subs. I don't know if he gets views.
Oh wow.
But also he used to work for Media Matters. That's where he got to start, just being an absolute F-slur.
Being a government sponsored
Carlos Maza, you
spy.
don't see that anymore.
Yeah,
That's a good question, Volpez. Was it? Oh no, I can't. Actually, no, because Carlos Maza did sue Steven Crowder back in the day, so I can't use any slurs or anything.
Oh, I remember that. He went after Steven Crowder.
Yeah, for calling him gay and all other sort of things that turned out to be totally true. Well, I pray Carlos Maza.
The worst man alive.
I know. Worst man alive.
Had a point. About Steven Crowder. Yeah. No, but I wanted to cover that article, but maybe we could cover it another time. But I think that I remember this article from the New York Times that's in the comments there. I just want to read the last part. Maybe we'll cover it to next episode, or by Christy Wampole. I remember reading this back in the day, and it really struck a chord with me. Let me just read it here.
Okay.
Attempts to banish irony has come and gone in past decades. The loosely defined new sincerity movement in the arts that had sprouted since the 1980s positioned themselves as responses to postmodern cynicism, detachment, and meta-referentiality. New sincerity has recently been associated with the writings of David Foster Wallace, the films of Wes Anderson, and the music of Cat Power. But these attempts failed to stick, as evidenced by the new age of deep irony. Because again, postmodern, hipster, irony culture, and eclecticism. But also, I think like it's important to illustrate that meta-referentiality is something that we do all the time, anyways. In the internet age, what will future generations make of this rampant sarcasm and unapologetic cultivation of silliness? Will we be satisfied to leave an archive filled with video clips of people doing stupid things? Is an irony legacy even a legacy at all? The ironic life is certainly a provisional answer to the problems of too much comfort, too much history, and too much choices. But it is my firm conviction that this mode of living is not viable and conceals within it many social and political risks. For such a large segment of the population to forfeit civic voice through the pattern of negation I've described it as to siphon energy from the cultural reserves of the community at large. People may choose to continue hiding behind the ironic mantle, but this choice equals a surrender to commercial and political entities more than happy to act as parents for self-infantilized citizenry. So rather than scoffing at the hipster, a favorite hobby, especially of hipsters, determining whether the ashes of irony has settled on you as well. It takes a little effort to dust them away. I remember reading that back in the day, and I'm like, wow. No, it's by Chrissy Wampole, but Sam Chris could have written that as well. I remember reading that and being very struck by it, being like, wow, we're going down a very, very dark path. because we're ceding political and cultural agency to ironic detachment. But then reading
the worst consequence of all of this, I would argue, is that ironic detachment is the crux now of relationships.
Yes.
Especially for the millennials that came out of the fallout of this.
Yeah.
And this is why I think for a lot of people, the 500 Days of Summer review that we did does hit home for a lot of people I know, especially some of my older friends, because like you have the ironic detachment of
that gutted
romance.
me when I watched. My best friend forced me to watch it. It gutted me.
I watched it, and then I started asking people. I'm like, so who do you side with in that movie? Because I think that says a lot about how you side with people or how you look at things. But I think the thing to consider is that.
Do you consider Summer a villain or a hero?
You can't do either. Summer's a woman.
No, but like, the political test.
Like, no, I know.
Yeah.
It's a political litmus shit test. It's more of a shit test than a litmus test. But no, the ironic detachment of relationships, I think, fundamentally kills any sort of romance. And so what do you see? You see the rise of what gets called the quirk chungus.
Oh god.
Right? Like all of a sudden, it's the man child that used to have like things that he actually genuinely gave a shit about, but they turn into this like cult of consumerism. And so like he has to be on board because this is what he's known for, and this is who we are, and this is what I do. And then all of a sudden,
doing the bit. Nobody understands it.
Just keep doing the bit,
right?
Because the bit becomes your personality, and this is all that we are. Because we're ironically detached from anything, because we're so afraid to get hurt, and we're so afraid to feel. There's no intimacy anymore at all whatsoever. Like people are fucking afraid of it. And I mean, not even just like one-on-one.
Look at Taylor Swift. People were talking about Taylor Swift as the quirk chungus queen. Yeah.
So because I saw like the weird clip of her doing that weird ass dance. Like, I think that they're gonna that'll be the dance for a lot of older women. But I think
ZHP really he laser focused in on the.
It was brutal. If there's one thing that Zero HP Lovecraft is good on, he knows how to. He's
good at hating women.
Yeah. But so what was left of intimacy is the ironic detachment, and then if ironic detachment allows us to detach ourselves from anything intimate and allows us to latch on like fake simulacra and fake facsimiles like consumerism, well then what gives rise to that? We get like awkward courtship rules that are totally predicated around not getting accused of sexual harassment or assault. It turns into, well, I can just buy a date, or I can just get on an app and swipe. The detachment is not 100% caused by our technology, but our technology served, as Dr. Sherry Turkle says, it became the crutch in which we use to expect more from our relationships via technology, despite the fact that the cultural detachment came first.
But also, it's a socio-politically and culturally, in a weird way, the sort of hipster irony that a lot of, for example, the irony left, the dirtbag left, the aging millennials still have, that give Christy Wampole was correct in that greater forces would seize upon it and administer the perpetual man children and man girl women, the perpetual infantilized generations of the millennial. But when you see Zoomers and like younger millennials, irony lost and sincerity, but a domineering political sincerity that is in a lot of ways even worse than ironic detachment has taken hold. So in a way, the hipster lost. It's like what Sam Chris said.
I think it gave way to unironic, but also ironic attachment to said political things. Because Kathrine and I had a back and forth about this like a couple of years ago, but it's just like, for every genuine like convert you see to like say like Roman Catholicism or whatever, all of a sudden there's a million people with like papal flags in the bio that are
papal flag groiper or whatever.
Yeah, right. But it's there for the purpose of being a signifier for an in-group, even though there may not be any actual attachment to it. And one of the things that I noticed is like you can look up like a political compass test, just like put the word political compass test into the search bar on Twitter, and you'll see people bounce around left, right, upper quadrant, lower quadrant, center, over the course of like in 3 years, they'll be in like 15 different positions. And you're like, this is someone with no
grounding
capability
in reality.
to pair bond or have reality, or they change their opinion so quickly because of virtue signaling or the in-group such which. And so it becomes this cagey kind of, where am I looked at now in reference to the out group? And so it's a group of people that are looking not into the river like narcissists, but they're looking around to make sure everyone else is looking into the river like narcissism, along with them, because they don't want to be the only guy looking into the river, right? Because that would turn you into a flower, and that's bad.
But
And
also,
so,
yeah.
no, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, what really destroyed the hipster was that you could take on an ironic mantle of a radical politics. You could find a niche ideological thing that was sort of like not serious the way that a lot of like younger people do now. But in the 2010s, the demand to be sincere and serious at a very grave political cost and social cost was placed upon them, especially if you were like a white man or a white woman. Like you, but people in general, there was a demand to be serious during the black hole that is the cultural output of the 2010s. It was an infantilization of culture, but also sincerity won, and it was terrible because now there is no political leeway, especially if you are a part of various groups that ascended to power. And I think like ironic detachment, where to you could be like an obscure, you could have like an interest in, I don't know, Hoxa or whatever. Like it's like that doesn't cut it anymore. Now you have to be sincere in your progressive stack politics. And same, I even think like in the political right, sometimes like it's a different form of political signaling and policing, but it's still there. But I think like when it comes to the hipster, that like the 2010s bodied the hipster because sincerity destroyed the hipster. And no longer was it about niche culture or preserving things, because now even the act of preserving something is called into question. Why do you want to preserve like this obscure indie band that only had a few records when we have a G word I to stop, or we have to like, there's a crisis on campus, like, you know what I mean? Like it was really destroyed.
But it also got turned into consumerism because it became predicated, but it became predicated on, well, why talk about this when no one's going to view it, right? Like there's a YouTuber who does some video game review essays that I like, and he said, listen, I know it doesn't get a lot of views and it's not popular, but I love it when people show this behind the scenes stuff about video games that were made like 40 years ago or whatever, like, and he's talking about all this research and lost media and all the research that he does to like talk about the history of said content of a video game that was made in like the late 90s or whatever. And he's just like, I know it's not popular, but you have no idea how much this stuff interests me. And he says, and it's really hard to balance that out between, making a video that you guys are going to watch and enjoy, but also that gets my interest. And I think about that a lot because there's a lot of things out there where like the focus on like fandom or Marshall McLuhan, or all these sort of niche writers like Kruptos is big on Jacques Ellul and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so, but the question always becomes like, are you doing this to market it, or do you do it because you're kind of interested?
Yeah.
And it's important to do so and to keep that in mind, because it's not like
you have to fight for it. You have to have this indomitable spirit within you.
But you have to believe in something, right?
Yeah.
So instead, what do? Well, we come up with these steps to create emotional and just emotional distance. I have to get a job that pays like X number of dollars an hour. I have to get this. I have to get a home. I have to get a degree. I got to do this and blah 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 blah. And so what do? Well, you're 35 and then you've never really been with anybody, and you're not married, and you're not doing anything. And you're telling yourself one more step, and you never did. Yeah, and that becomes a big problem with the death of the hipster, because at least the hipsters did something.
Took me to the age of 30 exactly to find somebody.
And I think the other thing too is to consider it all at the end. And this comes from someone who, I have been to more Decemberists concerts than I would like to admit publicly, and I have the musical taste of a hipster. I enjoy a lot of bands with these respects to these things, but also that there's nothing. I mean, the irony gave way to sort of this post-ironic world where things got deep fried and they were turned into niche social club fandom signals Oh, I'm an American firster. Oh, I read Bronze Age mindset. Oh, have you read Kropotkin this way? Da, 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 da. And so all of a sudden it's lost to anything that could have been.
Have you read Murray Bakhtin?
Yeah,
have you read Bakhtin? Yeah. Yeah.
And so it just turns into this post-ironic way of living. But but you're still poisoned by irony because you grew up with it. And so what emerges out of that, I think, more than anything, just turns into a culture of grinding, looking for meaning, and everyone desperate to escape a world that is predicated on the bullshit social mechanisms and polite, niceties of useless, vapid, empty ritual.
Yeah.
Like, no one cares, right? Like, do you really? And I think that's what gave way to, like, the millennial nihilism of, like, Reddit and the Rick and Morty bullshit. But also it gave way to people being so desperate to look for anything. Yeah. And unironically, the thing that shook, I think, a lot of normies to their core was COVID. Because what did that do? Well, it told them that they died.
Forced
they
them
will die.
Yeah. On the auspices of a massive state of exception of the awareness of bare life and death at every corner, they went online and they discovered what it was like to be people like us, and it was terrible for them. There's two things I would say before super chats. Veronica brings up a good point here. ZHP, and I'm gonna count. Like, listen. Me and ZHP have been friends for a very long time, but I will counter signal him one time. He said that, like, to find a girlfriend, like, to find a woman, you have to, like, find a political normie. It doesn't really care. And, like, you can't, like, find a radical or you can't find someone that has the same awareness of things as you do. Not just in politics, but also in interests in general. Now, if you're lucky enough to find somebody who does have your same interests, I think, like, I will go against him and say that I think that there's a different side if you can find someone who's sane but also shares your same thing. But someone, a poster who I believe she follows me, Veronica, not Veronica, but a Midwesterner on Twitter, said to Zeech in the quote tweets, "Being with the normie with no insight into anything isn't some blissful peace. It's like being trapped in a mental prison where every thought lives and dies in your own head." And I think, like, if you have a particular interest or a particular awareness of things, even in my own life, I'll give you an example. I think I told this before on the show. I remember one time I was, this was a few years ago. This was actually more than a few years ago. This was, like, during the Clownvid era. I was talking to my childhood one-itis, because we're still friends, right? And I knew this girl since we were in kindergarten, literally. And I remember I was telling her, like, what I was doing and what she was doing, and she just came out of some relationship with some loser, whatever. So I remember she said to me, she looked me dead in the eyes, she says, "Gio, I don't understand what you do. I can't understand it because I don't think it's real." And I said to her, I remember I said to her, it's not real to most people, but what I'm exposed to every single day on the internet becomes reality eventually to most people. All the things that people talk about, all the things that people debate over, all the things that people have an awareness of eventually come from my world. And so this is why I spend so much of an exorbitant amount of time. And I remember she's like, but that's bullshit. And I go, well,
so are you just sitting here like Todd Howard in the Making of Oblivion documentary, where you're just like, well, who's laughing now?
yeah, who's laughing now?
Gio is like, bitch, I'm Willy Wonka.
Good day. You got nothing.
You lost.
You lost. I won. And especially, and this was, like, so delicious because this was, like, peak Clownvid 2 when my world was taking over everything. And, like, normies were forced to go online. But another thing I will say is I think that, maybe I'll save it for Content Minded, because I had this point about how, like, why I'm so obsessed with the culture of the early 2000s. Because I think, like, when I was a kid, I was sort of in a state of, like, blissful unawareness relative to other, like, kids in my age. And it's really, like, going back
an empty bliss, like, beyond the
an empty bliss. Yeah, but it's to go back in search of lost time in other ways, in a weird way. And it's like, I'm trying to go back to like rediscover things that I only had a passing glimpse of. Maybe because I am autistic or something like that. I don't know. People
No,
around me say
I
this.
think that that's understandable because I've often said on countless other
Well, it
podcasts
was like
and
a switch flipped to me when I was in high school. But anyways, go ahead.
sure, but I mean, like even I've said I think on this show where it's just like how much of my own political understanding of the world is tried to deconstruct like growing up in the global war on terror.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
that is a
100%.
big chunk of trying to understand my life.
Yeah,
Because like I grew up with it. I thought George W. Bush was a cool guy. I get super. It's been over. I was a kid when it happened, but like thought my dad was dead. Get super emotional over 9/11. I shouldn't be, but hey, like it's the growing up as is the military brat deal where you're like, but what was the world like outside of that? When like people like when you laugh and you're like, well, you didn't watch this cartoon, and I'm like, no, I didn't because I don't know what that
Mhm.
world's like. And the same
Yeah,
way, I go to church I'm at church maybe 3 or 4 times a week with my, but one of the things about it is that there's a guy who is our age, he's 30, and he has lived in the same small town right outside my parish for all his life. I have no idea what that's like. And I want to know what that's like. I think
yeah,
that's the big reason why I'm so interested in all this deracination discussion because it's just like I have roots that go back to the beginning of this country and earlier, but like I can't fully relate to it because I've been everywhere. And so it's like this post ironic detachment where everyone's realizing, oh shit, there's nothing at the end of this rope.
yeah,
And so what do people do? They're trying to, in a Wile E. Coyote style, reach for the rope as they're about to fall. Some will grab it. Not everyone will. I think that's the important thing to come to the conclusion there is that I think people still are reeling from the death of all these niche subcultures because at the end of the
yeah,
day, whether you knew it or not, you were part of one.
100%. No, it's true. And
And here we are.
yeah, and here we are because I think it is in search of lost time. It is in search of something of that pure feeling that you once had. I mean, with some people, it was playing video games. Like, that meme of like you go back to the video games you played when you were a kid and it doesn't feel the same anymore.
Oh, dude, I've been playing like Halo CE that came out over
Yeah.
20 years ago for so long.
I remember like watching on YouTube these older hockey games I watched when I was a kid. I think it was 2002 when the Toronto Maple Leafs went to the conference finals. And I'm like, man, that's like, that's really depressing. Like you're nostalgic over certain things. And it's like, yeah,
So
it's
much,
true.
yeah, and I think
They did win last night, so I can't be too black pilled. They finally won against the Bruins at least.
Eric put this Eric comment from Eric on. He says meme analysis had a good take on how these subcultures were so vital to the relation.
Wait. There
There
you
you
go.
go. Were so vital to relationship formation for those on the edges. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a married couple at my church that are about my age. I love them to death. They met on a Fallout gaming forum, not like Reddit. They met somewhere else on some forum talking about their builds and playing Fallout New Vegas. And now they're married. I was at their wedding. They're good people.
Spurgs
But
among the ruins. Yeah.
Spurgs among the ruins.
No, we do live in the ruins. Yeah, we
We
do.
do, but I just think that I remember the death of Bungie.net. I remember the
Oh
death
yeah.
of. I remember the last Halo 2 servers going out.
My
But
my best friend IRL, he was the Halo kid. And what was
I
that
was the Halo
forum on
kid.
Halo? What was it
There was
called?
Halo.bungie.net.
Oh, there was the flood. The flood. That was what it was called.
Oh well, yeah. There was also the flood.
Yeah.
Um, but
Anyways.
more. There's so much that we could keep going on this.
I
But yeah,
know.
let's.
No, because I think the one last thing I will say is that even if you live in the ruins, you have to approach these things heroically. You have to really fight for the things that you remember in your heart that
God
is
loves a happy
meaningful to you.
warrior.
Exactly. God loves a happy warrior. You have to remember things that you long for in your heart. You have to like really search inside of yourself and you have to search for what you find meaningful and valuable. And you have to filter out all of the pollution, the psychic pollution that you see in everyday life. And that even though nobody remembers, it's like that and this is what really the promise of the internet was, is that, and it still can be, by the way, that you can have a niche interest and you can find someone that also remembers. And the internet, a lot of internet posting is an act of remembrance. And I've had many moments like that where maybe there were things that I saw on the internet because, of course, all the people around me were, let's not get into that, you know. But when I was growing up, all the people around me were like, I don't know, hanging out or whatever.
Who's
And me, I was
laughing
like,
now?
but who's laughing now, right? So, Revenge of the Nerd. No, I had friends too. Like I went to parties and stuff. It's just that I was more online than most people. And like when I see people that I grew up with now, they don't know anything about anything when it comes to like what was happening in that era online. But then you go on Twitter and you go online and then you say like, "Hey, I remember this." Then you have like people in your mentions saying, "Yeah, Gio, like I remember that." Like it's like it's such a humbling experience when you do grow up in a small town and you do grow up around people that are like more or less like turbo normies that don't like, you know, have the same
Mhm.
interests as you. Um, it's such a breath of fresh air to like finally discover people that you can jive with that do have the share
No,
similar
no,
interests.
absolutely. Because like I used to feel the exact opposite, especially since being this guy, this frog thing that I have a love hate relationship with. But like there are
Mhm.
like 3 or 4 guys that know who I am and that we, and it's nice to sometimes just drop the bullshit. Like, oh, I can just speak the language that I'm so used to speaking. And
Yeah.
it's so nice. Like, he's gonna listen to this anyway. So I just want to say a shout out to my friend. I'll just reference I'll just call him
Howard
Coach.
Taft Groifer.
No, no, well, no. Just his. I'll just call him Coach, and he'll know who I'm referring to here. But he went on a trip due to his job, and he came back, and he gave me a lovely bottle of port, which I can't drink obviously, but the gesture was really nice, and he was just telling me about where he went for his work, and he was talking about how he just had this, he was talking about Pinochet and all this other stuff, and it was just a fun pause where I'm like, oh, I can bring the online into the real for a minute. It was really a really enjoyable time, and
Yeah.
it does mean a lot. And I think that that's really what all that this is going to be is that the weird and eerie demise of the hipster is now the weird and eerie desire to claw back to sincere attachment and sincere belief. And
Exactly.
the real way that you can express your sincere belief is by donating now. The entropy link is down below in the description. By all means, need Gio's super chat so he can keep on his neat life and finish his fucking book.
So I could one day move in with my GF.
So he can one day get married and live with his future wife.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, this has been great though. I like this episode. So let's go to super chats and thank you, Favela Veronica, for mentioning that because I do believe in your heart that if you find a woman or even a man, if you're a woman, that does share your interests and you can make it work, I think that's probably the best. And
The 3.1% of Gio's listeners, those women,
the
the
weird and
weird and
eerie
eerie
God-shaped hole
God-shaped
in your
hole.
heart.
So true, ancient
So
gardener.
true.
So
So
true.
true. Um, let's go to the entropy links first. Oh boy, there's a few of them. I noticed people shill out more on entropy. Belial Bradley. First up, we have Belial Bradley for $15. Thank you, Belial Bradley. I visited Buffalo / New York, USNF. Which is USNF? What's that?
USNF?
Yeah. Is it near Buffalo?
Don't know.
I visited Buffalo USNF recently. Is this Berg Geo's defection plan to get out of Canada's side of the border once the retroactive speech
Oh, does he mean
laws
like the
hit?
Buffalo River National Park?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Well, Buffalo would be a nice place. Just, so.
That
I
feel
mean,
when no 3.1% of Gio's audience GF.
oh, Buffalo, U.S. Niagara Falls. They say, yeah. I've been to Buffalo and Niagara Falls, New York, many a times. It is well. I mean, Niagara Falls, New York, isn't that great, but like Buffalo, there's a lot of places that are quite good. So who knows? I might have to. But you know what? I mean, I don't know. Hopefully, the bill doesn't pass, or even if Polyev gets in, it won't. I don't know. I mean, it is scary, but let's not. I believe in not putting psychic energy out in the world, and probably Nothing happens.
Fellas, I will kidnap Gio if it comes to it.
Yeah, nothing happening has never steered me wrong before. Put it that way. Anyways, Charlie Mackey, our good long time. Oh wait, I'm gonna save the lore bit from Seneca last. So Charlie Mackey. Oh my God, Charlie Mackey for $50 US. Charlie Mackey for $50. I look forward to catching the stream later. How much for a review of a video game? Perhaps Cruelty Squad or the upcoming game from Consumer Soft Products, Psycho Patrol R. If you prefer some slower and occult, maybe Book of Hours or Sunless Sea, hope you both have a great evening. Well, I'm sure me and Prude can both play Cruelty Squad. I would just have to find a Let's Play.
I own it and I've played it, and I own Sunless Sea. I like God. All right, next week, if you want reviews, send them my way, and I'll review any video game you want.
Maybe we can review Cruelty Squad together.
I would like to.
Yeah,
I have a second YouTube channel that I have waiting in the wings that I need to just put out a fucking video about video games.
Yeah. And Sam153, our good friend, for $10. Salute Sneed NHL playoff predictions, Gio. I think the Oilers might go far. I think the Jets might go far. I mean, people are banking on the Dallas Stars to win the cup. But my prediction for the Maple Leafs is that if they can win tomorrow in Toronto, they won in Boston, which was a good sign. If they can win tomorrow in Toronto, I think there is a good possibility it could go to Game 7. But unfortunately, as history has shown, whenever in the playoffs, when Toronto goes to Game 7 with the Boston Bruins unfortunately win every single time. I think that if the Toronto is going to win, they have to win against Boston in 6 games. But in terms of like the playoffs overall, the Dallas Stars have a great chance to win the cup this year. It would be the first time they won the cup since 1999. So it would be good if the Dallas Stars. I mean, I'm always banging the Maple Leafs, but well, let's not get into that. Anyways, so thank you, Sam153. I haven't paid a lot of attention to the Western Conference, but I think the Dallas Stars have a good shot to go to the finals at least. And let's go to Owen Zaleski for $3. Hello, gents. How are you guys doing? I missed most of this because of a class I had in Just War Theory. Do any of you recommend any websites for showcasing your art / portfolio? Thank you. God bless. I mean, I use Square App. I mean, I have to like really work on it. It's been a while since I did it, but I mean, your basic like Squarespace, Square App. People still use Etsy, although Etsy takes a cut of everything. So, anyways,
that or just get your own website and build a good following. I mean, that's what Shane does.
Yeah. So Charlie Mackey for another $3. How much then? In which game do you want to review? Well, I have $100 fear, but I have no capacity to review video games.
To review video games.
Prove you're going rapey.
It depends on the video, but I'd say just how long do you want me to play it, and then how long do you want me? Like, do you want a script, or do you want a ranty review? That would be the question. Because if you want, because I would say 100 if you want a more like scripted take on something, but like I'll do 50 for like just a rant. Because like in the background of all this, when I'm not doing Friday night game streams, I've been playing pretty consistently with Capitalissimo on Remnant 2, and I could probably rant about that game for like 3 hours, and like it would just be unstructured. So, but I mean, like, it's up to you. Like, if you want scripted, I mean, I'd say 100. If you want unscripted rant, I'll do I'll do 50.
Yeah. So just send it Prude's way next week on a DA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Seneca. So last of the entry links, unless someone wants to donate.
Are we getting Missouri lore?
Yep.
Fuck yeah.
Seneca for $3. MO lore, Missouri lore, the big mud monster. The big muddy monster. Tall, white-haired, and allegedly stank to high heaven, sounds humanoid, spotted outside of Murfreesboro, Illinois in 1973, and a rash of sightings featured in local parades now. That could have just been like a hillbilly. I don't know. That could have been anything. Could have been the big muddy monster.
I like the lore.
I like the lore, yeah. It could have just been a Yeti, though. It could have been a version of the Bigfoot or Yeti. Anyways, so and another $3 from Seneca. Not gonna lie, I joined my choir at church at the local Knights of Columbus chapter for the turbonormism. I got connected, learned new skills, appreciate beauty, and escape this internet hellhole. Well, that's good. That's good. I like that, Seneca. But
Yeah,
the big money
honest to
monster,
God, if you have the skill for it, like joining your church's choir is awesome.
that should be like a band name, the Big Money Monster. That could be like a folk band name, like a bluegrass
bet you it
band.
is. I bet you
Yeah,
it is.
probably. Yeah, it's probably like a local Missouri bluegrass band called the Big Money Monster. There's a book about the Big Money Monster. I like a lot of like the local folklore stuff. You know?
I love local folklore, cryptozoology.
Yeah,
I could listen to shit about that for a long time.
well, it's funny, you know that YouTuber Carpetbagger. He goes to these conventions where they have like monster cons or cryptozoology cons, and they, you know, a lot of it's just like selling fan art and like little kitschy plush dolls of mud monsters. And
Westy says he's naming his band Turbonormism.
there you go. There you go.
Listen to Turbonormism? Of course you don't.
Some on Sumerian records, Turbonormism. All right, now on, unless there's entropy, let's go on to the YouTube super chats.
Ugh.
From Creepy Weirdo for $2. The No Girl is still a popular meme. The No Girl? Who's the No Girl?
I don't know.
That's what we're talking about, e-girls.
The No Girl is still a popular meme.
Oh, I guess it's like they're like longhousing you. They're like, no, don't do that. Like it's.
Oh yeah, no, that's fair.
No, don't do that.
Oh, the lady yelling at Trump's 2016 win. Oh yeah,
oh, that one.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
She became a Trump supporter, though.
Are you serious?
Yes. Yeah. I believe she became a right winger. Yeah.
That's lore I did not know. Wow, she should have ridden the e-girl grift.
That was like one of those like F2Ms during the Gamergate days, like detransitioned and became like a trad wife. I think it was it Milo Stewart that became a trad wife or another one.
I
Not
have
Milo
no
Stewart.
idea.
I forget.
This is so out of my purview.
Sargon did a video on this one. Anyways,
interesting.
And Favela Veronica, I love that name, by the way, Favela Veronica.
We're getting some straight up Fallout references here.
For $4.99, the uncanny Skibbity and Phantom Tax Jeovering of the Splinster. Truly one of the most intriguing concerns of the post Shady Sands nuke NCR. Shady Sands nuke NCR Skibbity. What the hell does that mean? What is this Fallout thing reference?
I could not. I don't know half the shit that's in the
like Skibbity toilet.
Yeah, but that's like source Gmod shit.
Yeah, nuke NCR. What's
God?
that?
I'm so old.
Is that a Fallout reference or is that something else?
The Shady Sands nuking NCR. No, that happens. That's from the TV show stuff that was leaked. Apparently, that's also why our friend Gabe Underground is banned off Twitter because he saw that and then he threatened to violently murder Todd Howard and he got banned off Twitter.
Does Todd Howard have any sway over that new Fallout show or no?
He's like a producer.
Who's in this Fallout show?
I don't know. I haven't watched it.
Oh my god!
You'd have to pay me a lot of money to make me watch that.
Speaking of the devil.
Speaking of Gabe.
$4.99 by Gabe Underground. What's worse, Transformers ruining New Vegas or Howard turning it into normie Todd slop? I would say New Vegas being destroyed, but because this new series is going to be stupid anyways.
Yeah, just go with. Well, I mean, really, does it matter? Like, because you can play Vegas independently of any of this other crap for like ever.
Whoa!
Like, I mean, like, you don't need the show to ruin Vegas for you. Like, who gives a shit? I already they were never gonna make it. They don't want you to care about what came before.
Vegas already was in the grave anyway.
Like, well, no, it's just that like New Vegas is still one of the greatest games of all time that most people will cite. So it's just
the
like
Fallout series was in the grave anyways. Yeah.
So it's just basically saying, okay, cool. If they're gonna do that, I don't care. I can still play New Vegas. I can still mod the shit out of New Vegas. New Vegas is great. And I'd do it again. So I mean, I just think that the first one is worse because like The Transformers thing is just more about all video game culture in general. So yeah, go with that one.
I love how people like the story where I roasted my my childhood one-itis. I like totally owned her. Anyway, so this is
Who's
internet,
laughing now?
who's laughing now? Internet friend for $2 Canadian. Hashtag winning. Oh, do you remember the Charlie Sheen thing before he became like a libtard?
He had like tiger's blood, and he called his like ex-wife the N-word.
Yeah, like Warlock,
Yeah.
Warlock energy, Tiger Blood energy. That was weird. He like had
Also,
a whole
wasn't
live
this
show.
like right after he got like an HIV diagnosis?
Yeah, and he was with Brie Olson, the promise.
Yeah, what a crazy time. Thank God Charlie Sheen is not someone anyone talks about
Was
anymore.
this before Gamergate or after Gamergate?
Somewhere in the middle of it.
I remember like he was riding the waves of like cultural reaction. We should like go into the whole like Charlie Sheen going crazy thing one time.
Tiger's Blood, Charlie. Yeah,
I love how people are bringing back.
Apologizes for buy. No, this was pre-Gamergate 2012.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Yeah, those live. I remember hearing about that in the Corin show when they showed like clips of the live shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like proto, like this is like way before completing the system of German idealism. This is like proto like online ship posting, but like for normies.
Yeah.
What Charlie Sheen was doing. So it's really people forget about Charlie Sheen.
So true.
So true. And a Favela Veronica for $1.99. The Skibidi is for Prude's maid appointment fund.
Thank you.
Oh my God. $1.99 from Gabe Underground Common GOW. Hashtag winning. And another internet friend for $2. Hoxa mention. I remember that green text from it wasn't green, it was a tweet from Thomas where he was like, some kid tried to talk to me about Hoxa, the bunker guy. It's like, you people need to get a life.
They're too busy with the Snorlax. Who cares?
Yeah. Favela Veronica for another $1.99. This is for Gio's Neat Life Skibidi Toilet Fund. Thank you. Thank you. So I can
just so we can read that out loud.
Prolong neatdom forever. Gio's Neat Life Skibidi Toilet. Oh my God. That's terrible.
You get what you grift.
Oh, it's true. And Gabe Underground again for $4.99. Do y'all think there's a Gabe saying y'all in the year of our Lord 2024?
I say y'all. What the fuck?
Yeah, I guess if you're Southern, it doesn't. Yeah.
I know Gabe isn't, but still.
Where's Gabe from?
I know he reminds me a lot of you.
He's not a Leaf though.
No, but you're both big, tall guys.
Yeah, I mean, look, we need to dox Gabe. We need to send his address. We need his social security number. I'm kidding. Do y'all think there's a permanent way to healthily expunge this content hunt for lost time? Maybe a form of individuation. Yes. I mean, ultimately, the past has to be something that you pleasantly visit once in a while. It can't be a prison. I've been through many periods in my life where the past was basically a prison that I've constructed on myself. So
the past should be an escape vehicle to which you overcome the now.
Yeah,
it should not be a prison.
Yeah, it's funny because I was watching this British show with my folks about this guy that goes into a coma. He was a detective and he wakes up in the 70s in Britain. And at the very end of the show, spoiler alert, he goes back. He like falls off a building and he chooses to live in the 70s forever to help his friends, to get the girl. I thought that was really poetic. But anyways, because if he was just like a wasted bureaucrat in modern day Britain, but by modern day, this show was made in 2006. But anyways, I thought that was quite poetic. I wish I could live in 2001 forever, or 1999 forever. Anyways, 199 by Brent Taylor, a good friend. Fallout, good, bad, ugly. I don't know anything about Fallout besides
Fallout 1 and 2, great. Fallout New Vegas, great. Fallout 3, desperately needing of better writing. Fallout 4 and 76, never played. Couldn't tell you. If you're referring to the TV show, I'll never watch it.
Yeah, why watch it? It's terrible. 499 by Seneca. This time on YouTube, we need a Favela Veronica translator. I'm a Zoomer, and I have no idea what she is saying. Okay, and Favela Veronica. So this is how
Oh,
I love.
wow, she translated, or he
I love how our
translated.
audience responds to each other, but they respond in super chats.
We appreciate
Um,
it.
yeah, I
Please, we
love it.
wish chat could
Please do
always have
this.
conversation.
It's sort of like doing graffiti at the Wendy's, like or doing like graffiti at the public
Oh yes, the first catch the
stall.
shit post.
Yeah, like the yeah, like the bus stop, like people come in to check their mail. The bus stop
The bus stop where they come
washroom.
in to check their mail, check their veins, and check their stool.
I remember one time being in a Wendy's washroom and like reading the graffiti, and people were like replying to each other. It was hilarious. Fortnite and Veronica translation, great topic for the evening. I will forever mourn over the complete annihilation of Fallout, especially the fate of the NCR in New Vegas. Yeah,
I just don't do what Gabe did and get banned on Twitter.
I'm a
Or
European immigrant. What type of European is Gabe? I think he said he was Nordic or not Nordic.
I think he's more Eastern European.
Oh, yeah, he's a Slav. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like a pudgy, tall Slav.
Polish?
I don't know what Gabe is. I know.
Gabe, what are you?
Yeah.
I'm guessing Polish. Or no.
We got Jack Posobiec in chat. Look at that.
Oh my god. We have one more from Entropy.
Ostro Croat.
Really?
That's what he says.
Oh my god. Gabe Underground is essentially
Gabe.
Gabe Underground is very, very similar to Nicolas Saldo. Owen Zaleski for $3 USD on Entropy. Gio, are you going to review My Immortal on Cannon Fodder? If not, this goes to 100 for the review of My Immortal. Also, you get more Entropy chats because it isn't going to YouTube. God bless. If someone does pay me $100, I probably will review My Immortal because I remember the Brent Daniel audio reading of My Immortal.
Can't wait for that. Can't wait for that.
So
can't
hey, pay me $100 to review My Immortal.
To review
I'll
that.
do it. I'll fucking do it. I'll do it. I'll review My Immortal for $100.
And you got another super chat here.
Another super chat from Big Ben for $20. I have no idea what's going on. That's the best $20 ever spent.
So true. That's the best $20 you've ever spent.
Oh my god. Send another one in Entropy. Also, Gio. Oh, okay. $3 from Owen Zaleski. Also, Gio, I said that I will use your book in some of high school art classes. So please get that book out faster. High school seniors aren't going to listen to neoliberal kitsch. God bless. Wow, thank you. That would be amazing. I don't know if that would be OPSEC friendly, but I mean,
yeah, I was going to say, we're in trouble there, Owen. But yeah, I mean, if you can get away with it, go for it.
It's not that unoptical as a book, though. There's a few topics I chose not to talk about. Yeah, but
proceeds to look up Gio after the book is in class. Finds this show. My face went. Oh, before we go, Gio, you sent you did see the screen cap I sent you, right? From Cap.
From where?
In Telegram, the Discord screenshot I sent you.
Let me go to Telegram.
Okay.
Oh boy.
It's like right up there. Do you see it?
John. Oh yeah, Capitalissimo.
Yeah. So here we go. So I'm gonna read the line, and then you'll read the quote, and I'll do the reply. So John Goodman and Andrew Garfield in The Digital Archipelago. QGO.
What I'm saying is she's right. Right wing, I mean. So it's fine if she has her tits out in their post. It's fine if it's repudiation of the concept that conservatism, who conserves anything really, but you know what I mean, is anti-sex or makes women inherently powerless. We have to escape the death spiral of irony and kitsch, or it's all over. Completely over, you know?
Buddy, I just block women.
Said friend, I just hate women. But
yeah, but I don't hate women.
Buddy, I just block women.
I think
that was my best John Goodman impression.
I just don't have to worry about other women.
I'll go to
release them. No, Gabe, we're not going to do that.
What does Gabe say?
Releasing a meme that I personally put my foot down to.
What's the meme?
It's not a good one. I don't even have hatred. I just genuinely just don't bother because
Oh my
The
God,
only women I have to.
hatred.
I don't hate women. Jesus Christ.
That was my friend Kunk when he went after the Arnie leftist and he posted his photo. He said, "You look like
It's not
the
even.
dude
It's
from
not
Hatred."
hatred. It's not contempt. I just don't bother. I don't treat Twitter like a dating app. I don't treat Twitter like these post-church coffee hour with the women gossiping. I just don't.
Twitter
I don't
wasn't even
bother.
a dating app for me.
I'm
Telegram
a
was a dating app.
blissfully unaware man. There are like 5 women I follow on Twitter, and all of them are married.
In my case, Telegram was a dating app for me.
Did it work for you?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Hey, Twitter wasn't even a dating app. That was weird. Yeah. Prude does not avoid women, but he doesn't.
As I like to say, my misogyny is it's not hatred, but it is my misogyny comes from a paternal place of love.
Yeah. Curious. Curious. Telegram was a dating app.
Curious.
I block women.
I am also. It's like the Matt Boers comic. I block. Therefore, they do not exist.
I blocked them out of my mind. This reminds me of this Greek guy who said, "I don't care if you keep calling Alexander the Great Macedonian." And one day he flipped out and said he was Greek and I'm a revisionist troll.
In many such cases.
Was that GSP from War Report who said
really
that?
Funny.
Gio, that's disgusting. Telegram is a dating app.
Telegoon.
Telegoon, yeah. No, not shoot it. Oh my God. Don't do that.
All right.
Oh my God. That would get me on so many lists. That's terrible.
Oh, so true.
Oh, Telegoon Cave. Oh my. Anyways, this has been a great episode. I think we covered a lot of serious issues.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Yeah, I liked it, Prude. So what we're gonna do next week?
I don't know what we're gonna do next week. I'll have something for us cooked up next week. Maybe we'll find an article or something fun to do.
By Friday, I have a few things to review. And again, if you want to pay me to review a film or an article, because apparently someone paid me $100 to review their article. But I might end up starting some tutoring thing in the near future. I think that would be good. Or some kind of like writer tutoring. I have that Hellstrike, Envy Desire, a Substack.
Yeah, you'll be busy.
So this Friday, I'm aiming for this Friday. I want to come out with a Fantastic Planet review. I just watched it, and it was great. I liked it, even though it has a bit of a lib message, but it has a lot of different themes. So look out for the Fantastic Planet review. And of course, Content Minded, I want to record a new episode as well. Just I didn't have enough time between the Oren interview, doing stuff on the weekend. Yeah. So, and of course, editing with Matthew. So yeah, next week's episode is going to be about the timeline again.
Oh no, I hope not. I try to avoid Twitter discourse as much as I can, but
yeah,
we'll have something in for next week. As for me, I will be doing what I challenged myself this week. I told myself during my lunch hour, can I get 1,000 words out on a various topic or whatever, and then put it out on Substack, trying to get myself to do it. I've been successful so far. And I've got 2 little articles out, one on history, one on car culture in America. I don't know what I'm going to write about next week. We'll see when I get to lunch. And then I'm going to have a longer article out about the idea of the end of history and the last man. And then sort of talking about what that conceptually means in the wake of 30 years onward. Because I think it's important for people to actually read the text. I have my wonderful talk and interview with Mr. Jeremy Carl from the Claremont Institute about his new book, The Unprotected Class, How Anti-White Racism is Tearing America Apart. I would recommend that you read that interview. I will hopefully have my Substack review out of the book in the next week and a half. And then by all means, I want to shout out our good friends over at the Tukey's Sidebar podcast. You can go to Tukey's channel and look up the podcast. It's great. And I was on part 2 for Samuel Chamberlain's My Confession. And I want to give our friend David Herod a lot of love and thank you for doing the audio editing work on that one, because there were some words said that he thankfully cut out. So I'm very thankful for that.
It was Gabe, right? It was Gabe's fault.
No, it was my fault.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I was like very thankful for his editing.
This is all Gabe's fault. This is all Corey and Trevor's fault.
No, it's mine, buddy. So with that, could Prude defeat Fukuyama in a katana battle? Well, he's like 70 something, so I hope so. But I also did SCA in college, so I could probably kick his ass.
Yeah.
I was a bad influence on Prude. No, Gabe. No, Gabe. I refuse. But anyways, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff down in the pipeline. Now that I know what my work schedule is like, I can definitely put out more content in the time that I am working. Fukuyama is not retired and making furniture now. Fukuyama was recently teaching in like Macedonia. Speaking of which, like he wrote an article at the beginning of the war in Ukraine about the whole conflict, and he had like 16 or 12 ideas about what that was meaning. I should revisit that article. But Fukuyama is not retired. Well, he's kind of retired, but not really. He's approaching his own personal end of history. Remember, we all will die one day. And if you knew how quickly you would be forgotten on this earth, it would be all the more important for you to seek God. But we'll be here live next Tuesday evening. And thank you all so much for making this new time work with my new work schedule. And we'll see you all next week.
Yeah, a lot of listeners today too. So tonight, because of Twitter. But anyways, God bless. Goodbye. See you next week. Too sweet.
See you, gents.